Hello and welcome to episode 55 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Philip Hoy.
Yep. We're back. Back again.
Soon this time as well. Literally a 1 week apart. We cannot stay away. And speaking of not staying away, the gymnastics guru himself, Mr. Spencer Davis. How the hell are you?
Lads, get off my screen. It's not been long enough. I can't do this again. Why are we back already?
Well, we're back because we threw out the entire rotation of the podcast, and then we didn't really have enough time to get together to put it back on track straight away. So now we're doing episode 54 and then 55, only a week apart, which for you listeners, good God, you're in for a treat today, an audio and visual experience. You're going to go on a ride today that you will not forget anytime soon. Because we thought going into this episode that we're going to have quite a quiet news week. You're only 1 week to gather news stories. There can't be that much that happens in 1 week of PlayStation. How fucking wrong can you be? This episode is stacked, brimmed full of top news with top presenters, with top shaggers themselves, the boys, the In PS We Trust 5-star level podcast. But that's enough of that. As I said, we got a crazy show ahead of us. But first, we always kick it off with a question. And the question this time comes to me. Now, we've had such hits in the past as how many kids can you beat up? Which animal can you take on in a fight? Today, I want to take it a little bit different. We're going to go down the survival route with this one again. But this question: have you ever seen the show Hunted? It's a Channel 4 show. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it. I watched it quite a lot.
Never.
Well, I'm glad you said no, Spence, because at least I can go off for our international audience. I think they may have a version of this. I don't know what it's called over there in the States, but the idea is that you got to basically evade a group of intelligence officers for 28 days. So you cannot get caught. You've got to just go off the grid, essentially, or do whatever you can to escape them for 28 days. And if you manage to do that, you win £100,000. Big stacks for 28 days of survival. I want to know what you do to be able to get out of this and to be able to win that 100,000 smackaroos. Mr. Philip Hoy, I'm going to come across to you first.
Well, as I said, I've actually seen the show and I followed along on previous series, and it always seems to be the people that contact their family that get caught. And they do it in the most stupid ways. So they'll just turn up at their house. Of course the hunters are going to be at their house. Or they'll text them from their mobile. And you'll track that mobile. So they know that they're going to be meeting at a certain place at a certain time. There was one episode where I think they messaged over Xbox chat to their family to try and set up a meeting. And they got caught for that. It's just madness, right? If I'm on that show, I am cutting all ties with everyone. I don't give a flying fuck. Mum, dad, brother, everyone, you're out of there. I ain't contacting you for the length of the show because I'm bringing home that money, baby.
But that's fine. So you kind of covered the first base of it. And you're right. A lot of the time they do give themselves away immediately. Like totally immediately. And Xbox Game Chat, there's only 5 people using the Xbox. They don't have many people to go round and search, do they? You know, it's not like as if you're messaging on PSN. There's millions of people on there. Much harder job for the hunters.
Well, I've always just thought you would just set up some kind of private internet relay chat and you would just message over that. But I don't think anyone's been that kind of like intelligent or IT savvy on the show. Generally, they'll just message over WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. And then the hunters, of course, are tracking that.
Rookie mistake. So, all right, you've managed to evade the kind of the giving yourself away part of this. But what would your plan be to actually avoid detection? You've got to go somewhere for 28 days. What would you do?
I'd go into Wales. There's nothing in Wales. I'd go to the valleys. That's where I'm heading. No one knows you. Everyone turns a blind eye to everything because most people hate police up there.
They do.
And they ain't going to rat you out, are they? No, that's where I'm heading. Straight up the valleys. I'm going to lie in a field for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever the show is. And I'm bringing home that money. That's the way I'm doing it.
So what would you eat? Eat off the
I'd
grass?
eat off the land, mate. Yeah, you've seen me at Download. I can put up a tent. I can live by my own means.
You just be foraging, like eating the sheep that are in the field. You just like hunt them down and just devour them. Is that the plan?
I think we're going. I think we're going back to a previous podcast question, aren't we? Could I actually kill a sheep with my bare hands? Probably, if I'm that hungry. But are they going to air it on the show? I'm not so sure.
Be a bit savage, wouldn't it? Just ripping some sheep apart, and the farmer's like, "Oh my poor sheep! It's happened again every day for the last month."
Day one, we're going to check in with Phil. Okay, he's gone up the valleys and he's already ripping apart a sheep. It's only day one. He's only been let out the van 5 hours ago. How is he this hungry already? Yes, yeah, that would be me, 100%.
All right, okay, solid plan there. Spence, what about yourself? What would you do?
Mine's a bit less clever. My plan... You got to think, right, these guys are geniuses. These guys do this for a living. They think 20 steps ahead. They think he's probably going to skip the country or do whatever. I would get my tablet, preemptively download the entirety of One Piece, buy a 28-day subscription to NordVPN so that I could text message and stuff from other locations, change my address from where I'm texting to kind of throw them off. And then I just hide under my bed. And I just watch One Piece for 28 days.
Hide under your bed.
Yeah.
You don't think they'll check there?
Nah. Why would someone hire... If you've been hired for this show to evade these agents, they're not going to think, well, he's not just going to fucking hide under his bed, is he? Let's be honest. He's going to put some effort in. No, I'm lazy.
To be fair, they normally go back to the person's house to see if they can find any clues. So they look for mobile phones, they look for laptops, they look for anything kind of notes that you would have written, right? To try and get away. I don't know why you never bin these things. They always seem to turn up at the person's house. But I've never seen them check under the bed. They check in the loft, but never under the bed. Maybe this is a massive idea, Spence. We should sign you up for the show.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, I think it's like, who checks under the bed? That's so cliche. They never, ever check under the bed. I think I'm safe. I'm watching One Piece. My mum's just downstairs from hungry. I'd be like, Mum, can I have some chicken dinosaurs? And then that's it. Sorted. The VPN's going to throw them off. They're going to be going all around the country. It's fine.
The moment you leave that under the bed safe space, you're gone. You're an absolute goner. They'll be waiting there on the landing, and they'll be like, all we can hear is just someone singing along to anime music, but we don't know where it is, right? You're just like singing the theme tunes. Like you can't help it. And then boom, they're in there. They're stabbing through the bed with a bayonet, probably trying to get you out, like some little creature that's underneath there. Like on a horror film, people survive under the bed for a while, but you get got as soon as you come out, and you can't. Where are you gonna shit? Like you can't just lie there in your own soil for 28 days. You'll come out with like some You'll be like on The Last of Us 2. With that creature that's like amalgamated with all of them, right? You'll just be like some crazy monster. Yeah.
Maybe he's got himself a poop sock.
Oh. Ew. No,
I mean, back in my World of Warcraft days when I didn't want to move away from the screen, times were tough.
Poop sock. Fucking
That's crazy.
disgusting.
I'd just live in it. I'd live in the poo. Honestly, I'd live in the poo. Because let's be honest, what are you going to get? Nappy rash all over your body? Sure. But after those 28 days, you got 100 grand. You're sorted. Who cares?
You'll probably die. I don't know what happens if you're like covered in like feces for a month. But I don't
Well,
think
I'll have a
it's
poo
probably
corner,
good
won't
for
I?
you.
I'll have a poo corner.
How
It'll
big's
be
this
segregated.
bed? How much space you got in here? It's like as if you got like a fucking prison cell under this bed. Your bunk bed's gone, mate. You don't have that much room anymore.
It's a king size bed. You have the poo corner, and you got to think, I'm probably barely going to be eating. I'll be eating enough to survive. So my poos aren't going to be large, are they? It's going to be little nuggets every 2 days. That's fine. 14 days you're going to be pooing. Fine.
The bed's not that big. He couldn't even do a backwards roll on it last week.
That's true. That is true.
That is a terrible plan, Spence. You'll get found straight away. And the thing you guys are forgetting, right, is that these hunters, all they're doing is they're sat there looking at monitors all day, watching CCTV to see like where you've gone. They know kind of roughly where you are. So if they're looking at the CCTV for your street, Spence, and you're just walking back in through the door, hi mum, hi dad, they like bugged your house. You're like, hi, just gonna be upstairs, don't mind me. Just get under the bed. They probably bugged it all out. They're probably just watching you for a month thinking, we'll get him on day 27. We'll let him go through all this hell, and then we'll just be like, "You're under the bed the entire time, you mug. We've been watching you shit into your poo sock, and try and get as much moisture as you can out of your own turds."
The hunter's just sat on his bed. So as soon as he comes out to empty his poo sock, you're out of there. You're caught. End of the show.
I'd never leave. I don't know why you boys think I'm leaving. I would just never leave. It's 28 days. That's fine.
28
You got one piece.
days under your bed.
Yeah, it's fine.
Jesus. Well, my plan, guys, is called Operation Feral. So it's taking it like Phil's plan, but going the next level beyond. So I'm imagining that wherever they start, they're in like an industrial estate in the middle of, say, London, like for some TV studio, right? That's normally where they let out. And then people like kind of hitchhike to get to where they want to go and then go wherever. All I'd do is I'd just literally just come out of the studio, get out of the way of the CCTV, and then dive straight into the nearest woods I can. And I've watched enough Bear Grylls in my time to know that what I need to do.
What woods are in central London?
Hyde Park? We can go in there.
Okay, you're going to Bear Grill it in Hyde Park.
And all I do,
Okay.
Operation
Keep going.
Operation Feral is all about you become the animal, right? So I've said this on many a time, that we're already the apex predator on the planet. Well, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. So what I'd do is straight away, day one's all about shelter, right? So I'd bin that off, and instead I'd use it to make myself my own ghillie suit. So I'd just be covered in like leaves and like acorns and stuff like that, right? Bin off my clothes, they'd be gone. What I'd do is I'd chuck those in the back of a cab and then say, "Oh yeah, I want you to take these to here." So they think, "Oh, he's got out and left his clothes in this cab for some reason all the way on the other side of London." They don't know. Throw them off the scent, see? And then I'm in my full acorn suit, right? So I'm like kind of a creature then at that point. I'm mostly acorns and leaves. So when I lie still, squirrels are well attracted to me for the acorns. And then, boom, get them. Going from, they're gone. Step 2, shave the teeth. So I'd go for the like proper pincer sharp teeth. And then all I'd do is I could then just lunge out at people in the middle of the night just to scare them, just to keep out of my domain. And they're like, "Oh God, it's a creature!" And then I've got my little place then for myself, and that's it. I survived 28 days.
To be fair, every town has got one of those weirdos in it. If you remember back to Caldecott, we had this woman called Fagbutt Lil, right? And everyone had all these rumours about her, and she was the weird one that no one went close to. She used to go along, pick up little fags off the floor, if I can say that word still in 2022, and smoke the butts, right? That was her thing, and she used to make weird noises, and everyone was creeped out by her. Maybe she was just unhunted. She was just keeping her head down low. No one wanted to approach her. No one wanted to go near her. You'd be the modern day Fagbutt Lil.
That's exactly what I'd go
Covered
for.
in acorns.
Covered in acorns and squirrel guts. But it would work. And I think you could literally, especially in the autumn like it is now, if you're lying down in a bunch of leaves, no one's going to go near you. And especially then if you start making some weird noises. Everybody's like, "Shit, it's me. Like, what is this?" And we don't know in the UK. The biggest animal we got is like a badger. You know, if you see some creature come out covered in acorns and guts, you're going to shit your pants, especially if it's dark. And that's when I can get them. And that's when I turn into a cannibal.
Do you not think... Well, I have two major issues, right? Two major issues. The
Go on.
biggest one probably is you're living in this park, going up, people going... Do you not think one of them is going to call the police and be like, "There's some weird guy covered in squirrel guts with sharpened teeth just going at people"? Do you not think that might happen? And also, after these 28 days, they find you. Obviously, they just come to you to be like, "You've won." And you start going, "You've changed. You're a different man. You've turned into a beast. The money's meaningless because you don't know the concept of money anymore." There's so many issues.
I think that's the biggest problem.
I really hope we're all on the same episode, because I feel like I'm going to win out of the three of us. They're going to find you straight away in your bedroom, Spence. Davey's gone too far, too feral, as you've said, and crossed the line. So he's just got to live like that. There's no way back. He's transitioned into the monster, if you like. He can't go back. There's no surgery that's going to fix that.
No, there isn't. No amount of counselling can reverse the damage that's done. But you were saying about like people finding me. It's where the ghillie suit comes in. Just lie down. I've played COD. You're invisible. People walk straight past. And these are like trained soldiers, let alone just random blokes in Hyde Park going out there with your girlfriend, just walking along, with a nice little balloon or whatever. And then they go, shit, they're gone. No time for a phone. They're gone. And that's it. I'd relocate then. Duck Pond maybe next. Get under the crocodile then. Just like here. Just staring out with the teeth.
Then you just frog people. You frog people, mate. You go,
the frog! The frog! Oh, dear. But yeah, I think, Phil, your plan probably worked the best out of all of us. Spence would definitely lose it straight away. He's a day one. And I'm out there still. Like, to this day. They've just never found me to give me my prize money, but that's my life now.
Spencer's the one that on the first episode, it's all about him. Because he's out the first episode. He's gone. So the rest of the series, we don't even mention him. So the whole first episode is just about you. So that's probably quite good for the podcast, really. So go for that, Spence. I like that.
Great idea. So listeners, that's what we'd do on Hunted to secure that bag. How far would you go? Would you just go under the bed, or would you go Operation Feral Wild Man? Let us know. Write into the email, psvtrust@gmail.com. So guys, we're recording on a Friday as we normally do. We're back on the normal rotation. What are you drinking today? I'm hoping that we're going to be drinking a little bit at least today. Spence, we always kick off with yourself. What are you bringing to the table?
Right, well, I'm a classic man. I usually only ever drink two things, and that's either buds or ciders. And today, well, last week I was desperate for a beverage, but I finished work too late and I just couldn't make the time. So today, during work, I did a delivery. And it was close to Tesco, so I thought, oh, fuck it, they won't care if I'm 5 minutes later. They actually kind of did. But it didn't matter, because I had secured the beverages. So today, Thatcher's Haze is on the table. And also, just in case things get a bit finicky or I mess up another backwards roll, I also bought the classic Fireball, ready for tonight, 2 weeks' time. Phil, for yours, this is going to be come with me. This is now in my pocket until it needs replenishing.
Big pockets. For a big drinker. For a big dick boy. Nice, mate. Great choice. Great choice of alcohol today. Really appreciate that. The Thatcher's Haze, an absolute podcast classic. Probably, thinking about it, probably the most popular cider we have on this show. You know, like we had the reds. Well, that's the greens, isn't it? Straight on the greens for the Thatcher's Haze, and that's another classic. Great choice. What about yourself, Mr. Philip Hoy? What are you bringing to the table?
Well, I nearly just voluntarily gave you the impression of Triple H live on the show, as you rinsed Spencer for his choice of drink and where he conceals it on his body. Big drink for big pockets. Yeah. Well, Davey, after a couple of weeks now of not drinking due to illness, holidays, travelling, and just trying to have a couple of episodes where, you know, I might make some sense, I am back on the Reds. Hello, we're back on the Budweiser tonight, boys. We are drinking, and we are drinking good. Great choice.
And of course, it's the World Cup design, which is a lovely design. We said before it's not embossed or anything. There's nothing special about the bottle, but it's a nice design nonetheless. Speaking of bottles, I'm on a Birra Moretti today. So I've got a few Birra Morettis. I do have work tomorrow, so I really shouldn't put many away. But I bought 3 of these big bottles. I got a big bottle of Bud downstairs, 4 ciders, and a whole bottle of limoncello. So we could get quite litty today.
I'm working tomorrow, but I've got this long list of drinks.
Yeah, you got options, you know. We always like to say on the podcast, options are the big thing.
Options, yeah.
Exactly. I got them. So we'll see how the episode goes. Hopefully I remain relatively sober. But we are halfway towards episode 60 now on the 50s run. So you might have to have a little taste of it. You never know. Let's move it on to what we've been playing.
This time on In PSV Trust, what have the boys been playing?
It's been a short hop, skip and a jump since the last time we recorded. It's only been a week. So we haven't had the length of time to really dig into as many games as we normally probably would do. However, Mr. Philip Hoy, I want to come across to yourself and see what you've been up to.
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. And this might surprise the listeners and the viewers, because I have been playing Call of Duty, the game that I'm not a massive fan of. I'm not a massive fan of the series, but you boys, through the medium of our podcast recordings, has convinced me to get this iteration of Call of Duty, and by God, it is an iteration. It is an absolute incredible game. For the amount of time that we've played it, which is one evening, I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. We jumped on, we did some multiplayer, Davey. I think we just set it to random, and we just saw what came up, and we blasted the hell into them, and we had a great time doing it.
Yeah, we did. I think we put it on to Team Deathmatch, Hardpoint, Headquarters, and Domination. And Kill Confirmed, of course. You can't forget Kill Confirmed. And what a great lineup of modes just to have for the multiplayer suite. It's just so hyped, man. It's so hyped to be back. Now, I gotta say, before we bring Spencer into this conversation, because of course, you can't be on Krakatoa without Spence being up there already, set up camp. You know, that's just where he lives at the start of these games. So the question I want to ask you, Phil, is being back to COD, does it ignite that nostalgic part of your brain from when we were playing this back in like 2009?
Well, I'm going to say no. I don't think so. It doesn't ignite the nostalgia in any way, really. First-person shooters, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with. I loved Counter-Strike back in the day when I was a bit younger, and I've dipped in and out of COD versions throughout my years, but I've never really spent a meaningful amount of time in the games. But jumping into this with the variety of different modes and playing with yourself, I have enjoyed myself. But that mountain of Krakatoa that you guys keep on about, it's a very, very daunting sight for someone like me. I am just about strapping on my hiking boots at the moment, you know, getting my first couple of kills, understanding the kill streaks, understanding some of the weaponry, but I am the noob of the team. I am learning as I go here, you know, jumping in after, of course, playing a little bit of the beta and jumping into some of those maps. I don't know where I'm looking, right? There's some of those maps that are so confusing. There's so many points that I've got to check, and I don't know what's coming when I'm jumping around the corner. It's just a madness to me, but I'm getting there. And I'm willing and I'm enjoying myself. And I think that's what you've got to do when you jump into COD. You can't go in expecting you're going to be cracked, apart from you two boys. You've got to go in, you've got to take those L's, and then slowly, very slowly, you'll start to see a lowercase w come into sight. And then that W turns into a capital W. And then it turns into a bold W, especially when Davey's carrying the team.
It was great to have you with us, to be honest. It was just awesome to. Unfortunately, we played it last night and together, and Spence was working, so it was a solo you and me, which doesn't happen very often on the podcast, and it was just fun. And I was saying to you like, oh, don't worry, this map's a nightmare, or this map's good, or I remember my first time, just trying to make sure that you wouldn't lose faith. But it's great to hear that you had a great time, regardless of the fact that it was tough. And especially with skill-based matchmaking, you know, you weren't going into people that this is their first rodeo or this is their first time in a long time. You're going into, you know, I've already put like 15, 20 odd hours into COD already in the last week. And you're going into those brackets because we've been put together on that. So fair dues to you, mind. And you did start holding your own, and you were doing amazing on the objective-based games, like really carrying the team, especially when you swapped it over to like score streaks instead of the kill streaks, which is a nice little feature. Now, Spence, you've been playing a shitload of COD as well, and even though we didn't play together last night, we've been playing a hell of a lot. Give me your thoughts.
Just on COD as a whole, my God. Well, my main thought is I can't wait to play with all three of us together. That's what I really want. That's what I need from this game. That's what I'd appreciate. But from the game itself, the game's just fucking goated, innit? I mean, I'll admit, during the beta, Davey, you surpassed me. You were higher on Krakatoa than I was. However, during full release, I think it switched round. And I might be wrong. And it's definitely still close. It is definitely still close. But I've been top of the team like every freaking game. Maybe not when I was using knife only, because I did do that the other day. But I've been doing good. I've been having a really great time in Modern Warfare, other than on Embassy. I hate that map. It's the worst map ever developed. I said it last episode, I'll say it again. It sucks. But since then, I've leveled my knife all the way and done all the challenges. So I have the solid red camo. And I've built my M4, which, if people don't know how I play COD, every single iteration, you get the M4 by default immediately. And I never use any other weapon. That is it. I love the M4. Every single iteration of Call of Duty, I just use the M4, maybe the AK-47. I only use assault rifles, and it's always the M4. But this iteration of Call of Duty is very different, because to unlock the attachments I need to make the M4 the best it can be, I have to use other weapons, which I appreciate because I'm using other stuff, but I don't like it because I love my M4 and I just want to use that. So currently I'm using the 5.56 Icarus, which is an LMG, to unlock the muzzle I need for my M4, and then I'm done. And I'm only using the M4 for the rest of this game's lifespan for the next 2 years, and that's going to be a great time.
I was going to ask you about this, actually, and I want to get both your thoughts on this, because this is something that's been really kind of controversial, I suppose, in the COD community. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that is the way the leveling system works in this. So in previous COD games, what would happen is you go from level 1 all the way up till level 55 before you can then go for a prestige, and when you're doing that, you unlock guns. That's generally what you unlock in those 55 levels. You unlock streaks and things like that as well, but mostly guns. And then when you use those individual guns, that's when you level them up and you gain the attachments for it. So when you got a max level gun, you've done it. You've done everything you can do with that gun, and then you just got to grind out for camos, and that's kind of the thing that kind of keeps you around. Now, what they've done in this, as Spencer said, is that they've changed that and totally stripped it off. So now the guns are done by receiver. So you might have a brand, like, for example, the M4, and that's got a receiver body, and then every gun that shares that, so like an M16 or an Icarus 5.56 or whatever it is, they're all linked under that. So you've got to level the M4 to a certain point to unlock the next 2 guns, and then you've got to switch to one of those 2 to be able to unlock the next 2 guns, and the attachments are shared across all of them, generally. And that's how it works in this. So very, very different, and as you said, encourages you to go and check out things that you probably wouldn't have seen before. Now, this system, you said then, Spence, you like it, but you kind of don't at the same time. Is that right?
I don't like it, however, I appreciate it, because it's forcing me to play different than how I usually would. However, I'm quite comfortable with how I usually play. So I do appreciate what it's forcing me to do, but I would very much just like to use my M4. That'd be very nice.
Well, what do you think about this change, Phil? Because this is very different from what we used to have in old school COD, especially when you and me were sweating the hell out of the original Modern Warfare 2.
You know, for someone of my sort of skill level, and for someone that has the sort of limited, I suppose, exposure to the minutiae of kind of the layout of COD and the progression of weaponry, you know, I quite enjoy this prospect, really, because, you know, like every game out there, there's a tier list of set weapons that you should use, right? And someone like me, I join a game with yourself, Davey, it's skill-based matchups, and everyone's got the same gun because that's the best. Now, it's not, because everyone's got to get to that gun. So in these early points within the game, people are trying out all the different weaponry. And I think that adds an element. It adds an element of unpredictability. So you're not just always running into the same game. And I just like the variety. I love when someone kills me, looking at the gun going, he's got a nice red one there. Oh, he's got a nice blue one there. You know, I can see the variety, and I can see, you know, what I possibly could do if I spent a little bit more time in the game.
I think that's fair. And to be honest, I'm kind of falling down on the same line of thinking as yourself, Phil, because this system, I really, really enjoy it. I really find it encouraging. I've never really cared for camos, ever. But because what they've done is on this game is they've made camos way easier to grind for. You can go for a gold in one night, which I've done for 2 different guns now. I've got my Lachman sub, which is my MP5, and my RPK, which is a light machine gun. They're always my guns in COD, and I've already got them gold. And so now it's like, right, well, let's do something else. Let's really try and shake it up. Let's go into something else. And so I'm using like an AK-47 at the moment. Just got that gold last night. There's so many different options in there, and I really like that I don't know if I'm going to unlock something that will make my MP5 even better than it is now. But the only way I can do that, other than looking online, of course, is by playing and just experimenting and trying different guns out. And I've already found some that have eclipsed guns that I thought I'd absolutely adore. The M4's gone. I'm not even remotely using it. I'm using like every other different assault rifle because I find that they've got a lot more kind of speciality, and I can match that to how I confront that game and play to it. So I'm really enjoying that experience of that kind of shake-up, I suppose, with COD that we haven't had for a little while, especially playing them like back-to-back now for like 3 years on the bounce or 4 years on the bounce. It's quite nice to have a bit of a change there, and it feels like a positive step for me compared to what's come before. But I could definitely see why people wouldn't be too happy about it because, like you said, Spence, you find a gun you want, you just want to play with that gun. And you've got to sometimes take the L on your win-loss rate or your KD and switch over to something that potentially it doesn't fit you and your style. So I do understand that. But I do want to come across to some of the kind of negatives that are in this game. And one of them that's really standing out to me now, even more so than it did in the beta, I'm finding it really annoying, is the perk system. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I'm going to come across to yourself first, Spence. What do you think about it?
You'd think I'd actually hate it because I'm obviously such a COD veteran. I really like the perk system. I actually very much like it. It kind of balances the game because there are so many perks that are so broken compared to others. And in this game, granted you still get them, you don't get them till the latter half. So like Ghost, if I get a sick kill streak at the start of the game and I pop it, it scans the environment to see where I'm dropping this airstrike, right? Everyone has Ghost. I can't drop it. But now, up until maybe 7 minutes into the game, even if they have Ghost on, it's not active yet. So my kill streak's still worthwhile. It just feels nice. It feels like some perks, it's nice that they're earned throughout the game rather than they're at launch because it kind of benefits you. It helps you with like, maybe you have a rough start of the game because you don't have quick fix on or you don't have Ghost on. Whereas then later on in the game when it's unlocked, that's your comeback arc. That's when you're like, I've got my perks, it's time to go in. And it adds a bit more variety into the game. And I think that's really cool. Would I like my perks right away? Of course I would. But as long as I know that everyone else is waiting as well, it's fine. As long as it's equal playing field, I'm completely happy with it.
I suppose the thing about it is that the better you do, the quicker you unlock them. So if you're playing bust ass to start with, you're going to get those perks before everyone else, and that's kind of your way to start kind of hemorrhaging the other team, really, in a way. The issue I've got with it, and I'll bring this over to Phil in a moment to see if he's got any thoughts, but the issue I've got is that it kind of restricts your play style. Because I like to be able to go around and to take my time walking around a map, sneak around a team, and go for kind of like back kills. Just literally just jump them out of nowhere and just wipe. And that's how I like to play. So I'm moving around, but I'm moving quite carefully and taking people out as I go, get around them and start mowing, start causing chaos from behind. And in this, not having Ghost is so detrimental, like from the off, because that entire playstyle is gone for half the game. I cannot do that. It's impossible for me to do that because everyone knows that no one's got Ghost, so everyone's got a UAV on. So it's UAVs all the time, the entire way through. And you can't do anything about it. You can't counter that other than blowing it up. And you're going to really take the time to sit back and blow that up? No. You want to get in the mix. You want to start killing people, getting those points. And not being able to do that and to have that choice taken away from you when they could have balanced it, like they did in old CODs, where quick fix, like you were saying, such a goated perk, the ability to kill somebody and be straight back in to be full health again. That's on the same tier level as Ghost. So, like, you couldn't have both. That's a huge choice. That totally changes how you confront the game in that one choice. And that's already there. So not having that from the off just feels like you're kind of limiting players for me. And it feels like it kind of limits my playstyle to how I'd ideally like to play. That this game doesn't allow me for half the map. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if you've got any thoughts about this though, Phil.
Yeah, to be fair, it's too early really for me to have an opinion on this. Probably in a couple of weeks when you ask me, it'll be a hot topic for myself, but I'm just at the start of this game. Give me a couple of weeks yet to catch up.
That's totally fair. And I suppose that's one of those other things, just like with the weapon grinds and stuff like that. Change, sometimes it can be good, it can be bad, and not everything's going to be for everyone. But one thing that I can say for damn sure is that this game is an absolute knockout for me. Like, even with this change to the perk system, it doesn't take away from what it is. And so far, and granted this could change, it's only week 1, but so far I'm enjoying this COD more than any of the CODs of recent years for me. I think, and most of it is down to the map design. I love the maps on this game. I absolutely adore them. Apart from Embassy, which can get fucked, I think all the rest of the maps have like really unique layouts. They have great little points that you can kind of hold and you feel like this is a real power position, but you're never always safe. It's not like you have to go that way. And even the maps that people hate, like the one where it's all the cars on the highway. I fucking love that map. I really like it. So I'm coming into this with so much, it's dragging me to want to play it. It's just really pulling me to want to play it. And I think anytime you get a COD experience like that, you're onto it. You're onto a great time.
The maps. I mean, I don't know if I'm in the same boat as you as enjoying it more than prior CODs, because I really very much loved Cold War. But maybe I prefer this. I don't know. The issue is Cold War had zombies as well. If we're saying multiplayer exclusively, just multiplayer, yeah, I think I do prefer this one. But Cold War was a lot less lame in its meta, and submachine guns were more prevalent. It was a lot more just find someone, whoever shoots first wins. It was a lot more pick your corners, pick your fights, play smart. Whereas this is a lot more, I'm going to sit here and that's it. I'm just sitting here. And if you walk around this corner, you're dead. You don't have Ghost yet. I have a UAV. That's it. The meta is so camping heavy at the minute, and it does kind of suck. But when you get a good lobby, when you get good people, this game can be really fun and makes it really special. And it's in those games that I do think this is probably one of my favourite CODs in the past few years. Probably my favourite.
I think you raised a good point there, because we haven't played the Spec Ops stuff yet, so we've still got that to experience. Now, campaign-wise, Spence, I think you've only done probably half of it, around about there, I think? Or have you done a little bit more since last time?
I haven't touched it since early access. I haven't had the time, unfortunately. I mean, why would I stop playing multiplayer? Let's be real.
Well, I pulled myself off it and I got the campaign done. I've completed all the campaign's trophies now, apart from Veteran, which I'm halfway through the game on with Veteran difficulty. Oh my god, what a game! What a game! I saw IGN's review on this, and I could not be further away from it. They gave it a 6 out of 10. Insane! So fun! Literally just so fun. It's the kind of game, right? I said this to Spence, and Phil, I'm sure that when you experience the campaign, you'll probably feel the same way. It's a game that just gets your dick hard. Like, it's a game that just makes you feel like a man. Like, literally, like, the music's going, everyone's talking in a gruff English voice, and you're like, fucking, let's go to war, lads. You're like, right, so, time to get into action. And you're like, yes, let's fucking get them. It's, like, so hype. I just feel, like, so hyped by it all the time. I just really like how varied the actual mission structure is, and you never seem to do anything for too long. As soon as you start getting sick of doing a particular thing, you're on to the next thing, and it's another blockbuster thing, another blockbuster moment. Super fun. I'd really encourage everyone out there, if you're thinking about playing COD, the multiplayer may be really appealing. That's probably that is the draw of COD, of course, every year. Don't skip on the campaign. And there's an awesome Easter egg at the end for people that have played Modern Warfare 2, the original. So, yeah, you got to play it through. Class. Highly recommend it, guys. But I think we talked about COD for quite a bit there. I mean, it's probably the first of many times we'll be bringing up COD over the next couple of months. But has anyone got any other games that they've been playing over the last 2 weeks? Or should we just move it on to quick news?
I have another game. And this is a bit crazy. Since last time I played COD was last Saturday with you. And since then, I haven't been on my PS5. Because I've been away at my girlfriend's, or I've been working, or I've just been busy. But as listeners of the last episode will know, I bought a PS Vita. What a fantastic little system. So, whilst I've been away, whilst I've been at my girlfriend's, she was at the salon getting her hair did, looking all fancy. She's like bright orange now. She's my pumpkin again. It's really nice. She looks like this top, actually. But she was in there for 5 hours. 5 hours. So what was I going to do? I played on my Vita, and I've been playing the hell out of Resogun, the Housemarque game. I talked about it in the past a little bit because I was playing it on PS4. But when I bought my Vita, I was like, that's a game I want to play. And all week, I've just been playing and playing and playing. And boys, as of yesterday, last night,
Ooh, that's a platinum.
I got the platinum.
Hey!
I got the
Hey,
platinum.
Hey.
Well done, well done. How did you find the hardest trophies on there, which is like getting a 15 times multiplier, isn't it? Something like that?
Yes. Right, well, it's story time, boys. It's story time. That game wasn't that hard. It really wasn't. And I had 2 trophies left, and it was beat the game with Nemesis, which is one of the ships you can use, and I did that on Rookie, because it's easy. You just beat the game, and that's the trophy done. You just have to beat the game without quitting out. If you save, or like if you close the game and come back in and carry on from where you left off, the trophy doesn't pop. You have to do it all in one run. So I just did that. Easy job. 5 levels. It was quick. And I thought I'd save the 15 times multiplier trophy for last. Thought that'll take 10 minutes and it'll be a really satisfying trophy to end on. The entire time she was in the salon, the 5 hours, I was grinding for that trophy. I didn't get it. Didn't even get it. I got a 14.81 multiplier and I died. And I almost threw my Vita so far across the room. I was punching my leg. I was like, fuck! I could not believe it.
Was this in the salon?
No.
Oh, right. So
I
you got
dropped
all
her
these
off.
girls getting their hair done behind you, and you're just in the corner punching your leg. That might look a little suspect, mate. So
Yeah.
good job you weren't there.
Yeah, good job. No, I just dropped her off. Now I went back to hers, got in bed. I was just playing on my Vita. And I was gutted then. Because I had to go pick her up, drive her all the way to mine, which is an hour drive. And the entire drive, I'm just thinking, I don't have the trophy. I don't have the fucking trophy. I'm livid. But then, I was working that night, and it was a quiet shift in work. So I was sat in my car, grinded it a little bit more, and literally right before it got busy, this was probably my last attempt, or my one from last attempt, and it popped. And the pop-off was nuclear. Actually, the hardest I've ever popped off for a platinum in my life. It was sick.
Oh, nice. You're like honking the horn, like roaring down the window. Let's fucking go! Like all the dominoes feel like shit. The ground's cracking around you. A kid disappears down the crevasse. Ah! Ah! My rage knows no bounds. Ah!
And the people sat in the car next to you were just looking over going, what's up with him?
Judging.
What's going on over there?
There wasn't anything quite that level. I was sat in my car, I popped, and I literally went, yes! And that was it. And then all of Domino's, when I walked in for my next delivery, they were just like, "What was that you?" I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "What happened?" I was like, "I finished my game." I couldn't explain trophies to them, so I was like, "I finished my game." They were like, "Oh, okay," and that was it. I was in the best mood all night.
I bet, mate. Well done. Does that drive you on to go and get the PS4 Platinum for this game? Because I know for myself, I did it on the inverse way. I played it on PS4, loved it, got the Platty, and I thought, oh, got all my skills now. They're embedded in me. I can get this Vita Plat, no problem. And it still was a bit of a challenge, but I did it in like record time compared to the PS4 version. Like absolutely slapped the tits off it straight away. Are you kind of tempted to do the same thing?
Thing is, this platinum took me a week. It took me an actual week. I probably played Resogun for maybe 20-25 hours this week, and that's how long it took me. And it was because I didn't use any guides. I didn't do anything like that. I just saw the trophies and thought, oh, I'll go for that one. And it was only like the last day or the day before the last day of playing it that I realized I had to do one constant run to actually beat the game with this ship trophy. But it took me a long time. But the skills, you're right, the skills are embedded. I have the skills now. I know very much so that I could get this platinum in probably a day or two, or just a few hours even, on the PS4 or the PS5 technically. But I definitely don't want to do it yet. Maybe I'll do it later on. I'll let the skills come back to me. But at the minute, I am sick of Resogun. I couldn't wait to uninstall that game. I loved every second of it, but I just played it too much. I was so sick of it at that point. Fantastic game. 30 hours is too long.
Well, I've got to say, it's nice to see you being indoctrinated into the Housemarque ways. All we need to do now is get you on to Super Stardust, because that is a hell of a game. And that's free on PlayStation Plus at the moment on Premium. You got Super Stardust that was for the PSP, I think. that you can play. And that would be the next thing I'd recommend from Housemarque, because as we all know, they don't miss. And speaking of not missing, let's line those shots up to quick news. Wasn't that good, that one? Wasn't that good? Quick news.
Okay, guys, you have made it to the quick news. So this is the section that seems to be growing. Each time we do it, we've got more and more news, and this week's episode is no different. And much like Spencer's shirt this episode, we are changing things up once again. Last week, we gave you WWE wrestlers, and if you haven't seen that episode, I implore you to go back, because there was some hilarious impressions from each one of us, but mainly Spence. So you definitely need to watch those ones. Today, we are doing sound effects, much like the guy from Police Academy. Spencer, that might be a tad, you might be a tad on the young side to understand that reference, but he was the guy that basically did the really wicked impressions. So he would just do the sound of the siren as the police car was driving down the street, but it would be accurate, okay? So let's kick things off. Davey, I'm going to throw it over to yourself first, and I want your best impression of a gambler paying out a big win. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Okay, I'm going to give you the full thing. So somebody goes up, they're like, it's my last 50p. And like, love, you've spent all your dole money. He's like, this is the one, this is the one. She's like, I'm going to leave you if you don't win. He's like, please God, kiss it. Lucky rub. Puts it in. Oh my God. And that's the notes. Hold the coins. Yeah, let's fucking go. Quick news. I'm not going to do COD news straight away because it's been COD overboard. Guys, do you know what I like being? I like being right. Sackboy, A Big Adventure, has come out to Steam, and it's had a relatively slow start. Who could have called it? Me. Me, that's who. Just over 600 peak concurrent players on Steam. It's fucking dead already. DOA. Who is surprised about that? Not me. So that's why you want to keep listening to this podcast, because I don't miss. Speaking of not missing, Spencer, I know how much you love a good impression. I know how good you kill it, especially when it's some kind of onomatopoeia or something else when it comes to these random impressions. Now I want to hear the sound of a stone being chucked into water.
Quick news. I bet that looked disgusting on the video, but I tried making it sound like it was bouncing on water. But I bet it looked mank. Quick news. So guys, new PlayStation Stars challenges are out, and this time you can actually earn some points. So the challenges are as follows. Fight of the Month Club. Description. The first rule of picking your fight is to win. The second rule is don't trim your own fringe. Now pick your fight. So for this challenge, you basically just have to boot up either Guilty Gear Strive, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Street Fighter 5, Ultimate Marvel 3, GOATed game, Mortal Kombat 11, GOATed game, or Tekken 7, and then you'll get your reward. Another challenge is PlayStation Store picks, so you need to buy a game. So this one's a bit pants. But the games are Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Cross-Gen Bundle, New Tales from the Borderlands, Brewmaster Beer Brewing Simulator, Gotham Knights, PGA 2K23 Cross-Gen Edition, and NHL 23 PS5. The next challenge is Play Wherever. So you need to use remote play for at least 5 minutes 4 times. So quite easy, but again, who uses remote play? And the other challenge, which I've actually already completed, is You Did It. You defeated Frike, which is a Returnal reference if people don't know. But literally all you have to do for that challenge is boot up a game, whether it be PS4 or PS5. And if you boot it up, you get a nice little astronaut figure for your little NFT collection, which I know Phil just loves oh so much. But yeah, those are the new challenges and rewards for PS Stars.
I gotta say, Spence, these challenges this month, I wasn't really too keen on them last month because it was just, like you said, just the NFTs. And, you know, as much as I love Astrobot, I don't really care too much about getting him with a sombrero or something. Like, it doesn't really motivate me. But what I did like was that because I pre-ordered COD digitally, they just gave me, oh, thanks for pre-ordering digitally. Here's 850 star points. I'm like, oh, thanks. And then it's like, oh, and because you did this other thing, here's some other stars points. And now it's like, oh, I've got like 1,200 stars points. I've only bought one game on there with stars. I'm like, that's quite nice. That's like what, £50 or something? I was like, that's not bad, you know, just for chucking them at me. I was really happy with the stars this month, and I thought these different challenges, maybe I will try remote play. Like, I haven't tried it since it first launched with PS4. Like, I haven't used it since I was playing the Vita in the back garden, playing The Witcher 3, I think, on my Vita with remote play. That's the last time I used it. So, who knows? Maybe I might try, you know, playing through The Walking Dead or Life is Strange or something and play it on my phone. Why not? Give it a go.
You said it was £1.50, mate. I'm actually looking at it right now. It's only 1,250 points to get £5 wallet funds. Or, if you save up, you could buy, for 6,250 points, you could buy Cult of the Lamb. For the same amount of points, you could buy Hades on PS5. For 15,000 points, you could buy Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. 10,000 points, It Takes Two, exceptional game of the year actually, everyone should buy that. It's only 10,000 points, come on. Or for 17,500 points, which is a rip-off for this game, you could buy The Quarry.
My question to you guys, though, and I know you're enjoying it at the moment. It's an early kind of adoption kind of situation where you've jumped in early doors and you're trying to get as many stars as you can. You're trying to get the NFTs. But how quickly are they going to be running out of ideas if they're already at the point where they're like, you need to buy X game to get X amount of points? They're going to run out of creative ideas to kind of make this fun, I believe. And it already sounds like they are. You know, how many different ways do you think they can give away these freebies, I suppose?
I don't agree with that at all. I really don't. I think that all they have to do is just tie it into trophies. Like they have done for a couple of them, where you get it if it says like play your favorite game, and turns out my favorite game at the moment is Astrobox. My son plays it every freaking day. I've got like 75 hours in Astrobot now. So it's like, do that and then you earn it. But there's some that are, especially when it comes to leveling up, they're based around trophies. So I think those people that are kind of into that and are driven by that kind of meta, like much as me and Spence are, and due to a certain extent, Phil, I know it's got to be select titles, but I don't think they will at all, because I think all they have to do is say, like, you'll get this if you do X trophy. Like, that's where they could take it, and then that might be it wouldn't really push me to do it, but it might be something that I think, oh, yeah, why not? Maybe I will go back and try getting that Wolfenstein 2 hardcore, the hardest trophy ever known to man. Maybe I will try and do that so I can show off on my PlayStation Stars little collectible. Who knows?
Mate, if you want £2.50, I'll give you £2.50 live on the show. I will PayPal you the £2.50 if you can get that platinum. Stream it. Let's watch you do it.
Oh, it doesn't mean as much coming from you, Phil. It means more coming from PlayStation. Sorry, mate.
What if I rename myself as Phil PlayStation Hoy and I send you the money then? Does that make it slightly better?
It does. It does, actually, yes. Yes, it does. Make that a legal change, and yes, I will do that. I'll dedicate my life to that. It will take my life.
I think it's the kind of thing where, as much as I do kind of agree with you, Phil, I don't think they've run out of ideas. They launched this service with one of the challenges being PlayStation picks or store picks, and they showed like Last of Us Part 1, Call of Duty, all these games, and they say, buy this, you'll get extra points. I think it just kind of entices you to pre-order the game, which is, people are going to do it regardless, so it's just an easy way to get an extra 50 points. But as long as these challenges come out and they stay creative, which I think they, for the most part, they probably won't, but they'll be interesting enough to at least achieve. Like, imagine if this one, you were just saying with like Wolfenstein Platinum, but imagine the game that can't be mentioned, Village. We want that Platinum regardless, but we're just kind of sitting on it rather than actually achieving it. If a challenge comes out saying 28 days until the challenge runs out, get the Platinum. and you'll be rewarded with this Lady Demetresque NFT with a fucking mummy milkers out, I'd be straight on the game. It'd be booted up, it'd be installed, I would be on Madhouse, third person, in my VR, I'd do everything. I'd play every mode I possibly could all at the same time. Give me that NFT. And it's just a way to entice you to play the game. And I think that's all this service really tries to achieve. But, placing stars aside, moving on. Mr. Philip Hoy, we always say your full name. I still don't know why, but we always do. My impression for you. I'm going to give you the easiest impression I could probably ever give you.
Good, because you mess me over literally every episode. The first time you give me... Last episode, you gave me Chris Benoit.
Listen, I don't want to be hearing that from you. I do not want to be hearing that from you. You give me females every single time. I don't want that from you. But I'm going nice. What I want from you is... I want to hear an accountant at work who's stressed out and they've just messed up.
Well, I can do stressed and I can do just messed up. I'll just be myself at work and typing away. But an accountant, how can I make it an accountant? Well, I suppose they normally sit and they're like... Fuck this. Quick news. So guys, one of my most anticipated games for 2023 has finally got a release date. Amen. The game Atomic Heart will be available to consoles and PCs February 21st, and pre-orders are open now. Now, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but they've got my money. And what I've seen so far, it's so strong that I'm thinking about buying that limited edition. I never do this type of stuff. I'm never an early adopter on a new IP. £90. How am I doing this? Stop me now, guys. But am I going to be able to resist a steelbook, an art book, a poster, some weapon skins? Okay, I could do without those. What do you think, lads? Are you going to be ordering it with me?
2023 is looking absurd. Like, absolutely stupid cracked. Like, to the point where it makes mine and Spencer's COD skills look like insects in the dust. It is insane what we got coming out next year. Like, absolutely ludicrous. I don't know what's coming out in February, but I got a feeling it's pretty Ramo already. Can somebody do me a quick Google search on this? Tell me what's coming out around about that time. I don't have a fucking clue. Nothing else to do. So that's all ask Google.
It's Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, is that it?
I got this more.
Well, we won't be seeing Spence online because his missus will be playing the Hogwarts Legacy.
That's when I'll definitely
from
be
that.
online. She's going to be busy, bro. I'm going to have so much time. So for February releases, Davey, we have Deliver Us from Mars, Dead Island 2. That's quite a big one, considering it's been in development for, I don't know, how long was Duke Nukem Forever in development? That came out great, didn't it? About 12, 13 years. Clash Artifacts of Chaos, my missus's favourite game, Hogwarts Legacy, Wanted Dead, Destiny 2 Lightfall, and Darkest Dungeon 2.
It's a fucking dead month, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely dead. I'm not interested in any of those. Literally none of them. If, like you said, if Dead Island comes out and it's actually stellar, I will be amazed. That'll be the turnaround of the century, because it never normally happens. It never goes that way normally. I'll wait for reviews on that one. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I mean, Atomic Heart, like you were saying, Phil, super interested in it. Anything that kind of emotes or elicits a kind of Bioshock atmosphere gets me in. But the graphics on this look kind of too good to be true. It looks insane. It looks absolutely wild how great this game looks. It does get me a little worried to have this kind of level of like kind of AAA caliber coming out from a studio that I hadn't really ever heard of before. It does get me a little concerned, I'm not going to lie. But from everything they've shown, I've watched loads of gameplay reveals, I've watched like in-depth gameplay footage, which is like an hour long. it looks insane. It looks absolutely wild. So it's definitely got my money. Don't know if I'll go for the 90 quid version at this stage, but it's definitely got my pre-order. That's for damn sure.
You have no reason to doubt it other than your skepticism, then. That's what you're saying.
Yes. It seems too good to be true.
How about yourself, Spence? Are you jumping on the Atomic Heart the same as me and Davey then?
I mean, I'm hesitant because, as Davey said, it looks phenomenal, graphically speaking. But we haven't seen, or at least I haven't seen, too much about it other than its initial initial reveal trailer. I think I'll probably wait for a Metacritic or wait for some reviews, something along those lines. I mean, let's be honest. If Davey buys it, he's going to buy it digital for those PS Star points, and then I'll get it anyway. So I might just sit on my thumbs and wait till that day. So I might be playing it regardless.
And I suppose the thing about it is, Spence, you physically cannot watch another trailer for it because you know it exists now. So we made sure that was known last time on the show. So you physically, if you watch it anymore, you're going to get turned off it, if anything. So you're going to have to wait till you hear it from third parties, but make sure you don't see a goddamn thing about it, Spence. Don't look it up because you might see it. And you don't want that. Definitely not.
Let's move things on quickly before he takes quick news into consideration and starts lower ranking things that come up in quick news or we even talk about on the show. So let's move on quite quickly because I think that game's going to be quite high. Davey, come into yourself. I appreciated your gambler, but let's step things up. Now, I know last episode we had some gymnastic ability from Mr. Spencer Davis. So I'm going to challenge you to give me your best impression of a Russian gymnast. You can take this anywhere, but they have to be Russian and they have to be a gymnast.
Now, the good thing is I've got loads of props from when I used to do skits on YouTube. So let me just go into my little cave of wonders.
I'm just wondering what he's going to get. What Russian-themed items do you think he's got in that locker? I mean, he said he had a unitard last episode, didn't he? So maybe he's going to break that out.
That'd be beautiful, but knowing Davey, knowing the big quiz we did not long ago, I feel like it's going to be a kazoo.
He can't just bring a kazoo out for no reason. Is that even Russian? Kazoos aren't Russian, are they?
If he plays the Russian national anthem on the kazoo whilst doing a backflip, I think he gets top marks.
Hey, if anyone can do a backflip, that's a buy. They don't have to take a single drink for the whole episode. That's fine.
Learn for episode 60. I'll learn how to do a backflip.
That's the only way to get away from it. If we challenge you to an impression of some female something or other, which you're too embarrassed or you just don't want to do, you've got to nail that backflip.
I'll do it. I'll put the time in.
Right, what has he got? What is he doing? He's taking a long time, listeners.
Quick news.
Don't know how that's Russian, but go on. or gymnastics.
It was that thing that was what's that thing they do in the Olympics where they got that little like bit of what is it? It's like a stick with like some fabric on it, and they like whip it round. And they like do this. You know the
Mate,
one.
I know
Olympics
it's
are you
the
watching?
ribbon dancing. I know what you're on about. It's
the ribbon dancing.
It's
I was
something
trying
like
to do
that.
ribbon dancing, but I didn't have anything that was like a fabric. So I had to go for a blanket that I had knocking about from my sons in here. And I thought, I'll make it slightly slightly Russian by this fetching moustache that I got going on. And a kazoo, because why not? Just add to the little drama that goes with it. Anyway, quick news. And this news is a bit of a shocker, really, because it turns out that EA are somehow getting away with fucking murder here. Because you remember how well they got on with the Star Wars IP when it comes to working with Disney, where they had like basically no games come out for a long time, and when they did, they launched rough, they had loot boxes, it was an absolute mess. Well, they're back at it again. They got a deal with Marvel now. So they've said on Twitter, and this is from Marvel themselves, we're thrilled to announce a multi-title collaboration between Marvel and EA to develop action-adventure games for consoles and PC. Each game will also be its own original story set in the Marvel universe. Now, as I said, this was announced on their Twitter, and we know that their first game coming from this is Iron Man. Now, seeing as how badly they handled the Star Wars IP when it was under EA last, do you guys have any faith in the fact that they'll be able to deliver these kind of top-tier experiences that Marvel games kind of deserve? Spence, what do you reckon?
Not a chance. No way in hell. I mean, it's EA, man. Just make Skate. Why are they making any other game? Skate's been in development for years. Just release Skate. That's all anyone wants from EA. Why are they even trying to step on any Marvel developers' toes? Insomniac bring out the best Marvel games we've ever seen. Granted, they're exclusively Spider-Man based. Oh, actually, soon it's going to be Wolverine. So that's not even true. Why are EA coming into the fray? We don't need them to be entering this space. EA can do what they want, make their own subpar games and Skate, because that's all they do. Skate 3 specifically, excellent game. And just stay away from Marvel. I don't understand what's wrong with Marvel. Marvel went to Square for, oh, this didn't work out. Let's go to EA instead. Why would you go to EA next? Why EA? I don't understand.
Nor do I, Spence, nor do I. What about you, Mr. Hoy? What do you reckon?
Well, I think I'm going to surprise you both. Because I'm quite hopeful. I really am. And I'm not just being different for the sake of being different. I probably am a little bit. But just for a moment, let's imagine, right? Let's Doctor Strange you both and cast a spell where you completely forget about Insomniac and the Spider-Man game. And then we also forget about the Guardians of the Galaxy game as well, because I rate that really highly. Now, your statement sounds much more appealing that a big company such as EA are going to put some development resource into creating a Marvel game. That sounds a much better prospect to me. And I'm really hopeful. I really hope that they can pull it out of the bag, because there's so many naysayers, and I'm definitely one of them. I'm not the biggest EA fan. I'm definitely not a fan at all, to be fair. But if they can do it, I'll be buying it. 100%. I'll be there.
I disagree so hard. I think if we eliminate Insomniac and who was it that did Guardians? Was it Rockstar, Rocksteady?
No, it was under Square. It was under Square.
Square
It
did
was
it.
under Square,
My
yeah, it
God.
wasn't.
I haven't played that game. But if we
Thank you.
eliminate them from the fray and those experiences, because we thought Insomniac was the only one to do it, and then Square came out the woodworks with Guardians, and that was a stellar experience, as you boys have said. I haven't played it. That's great. If we eliminate those, we're just left with the Avengers game, which bombed from Square, and the Marvel movie tie-ins, which are all tragically shit. And then we think, oh, EA's going to make a Marvel game. Great. No, I feel like it would be infinitely worse if that was the case. We've had good Marvel games now, so we know what to expect from Marvel titles. Whereas the expectations would be so low that if this was the news that EA were developing the new Marvel game, I'd probably just block them on Twitter so I don't have to hear anything else about it. I think it's bad any way you look at it.
I mean, the proof's going to... I mean, I'm saying this all the time at the moment, but the proof is going to be in the pudding, because we've got the Dead Space developers who are working on the Iron Man game. So that gives me a lot of faith that this may be good, but we'll have to wait and see. If the Iron Man game comes out and is shit, then you know that generally the bar for quality on this is going to be relatively low. Can I also just say to you guys, what Phil was on about with a large mustache getting stuck in a bottle, right, in a Coke can? Look at this. It's a fucking nightmare. It's an absolute fucking nightmare. It's like, it is undrinkable like that. So the mustache is gone, I'm afraid. I do apologise, but it lasted the entire go. Phil is always right. We coming back round to yourself now, Mr. Hoy? Yeah, we're going to switch it up. We're going to go back. I'm going to take it back round. So I'm going to come across to yourself, Mr. Hoy. I want to hear the sound. I want to hear the sound of a kid running, falling over, and like scraging their knee.
Can I get a fact check on that word? Oxford Dictionary? Scraging?
You've not heard that? It's the difference between a scratch and and like a graze. Scrage. Have you not heard that? Apparently it's a Bristol
Fast
term.
thinking there.
Go
I've never heard of scraging.
That's what my wife always says. And go and ask your missus. She's Bristolian as well. It's a Bristolian phrase, a scrage. And I was like, I'm never going to use that word in my life. And it's slowly sunk in. It's got underneath the skin now, like a scrage. It's scraged into my mind. And yeah,
Scraged.
Okay, hang on. Wait. I've read through the Oxford Dictionary real quick in search of the word scrage. It doesn't exist. The word scrag exists, and scrag is to handle roughly or beat up. Or to kill by strangling or hanging is to be scragged.
You've been scragged. You've been fucking scragged, mate. I'm going to scrag you right up.
I love that Spencer now is our Susie Dent of the podcast. If we need to fact check something or we need him to check the dictionary, we'll go over to Dictionary Corner and Susie over there will give us the facts. And Spence, you haven't disappointed there, mate.
I got you.
Great work. Really appreciate you. But yes.
Right, let's try and do an impression of a word I don't know. But I get the meaning. So kids, when they run, whoop, bit of a comedy fall. It's a banana. Whoop, like that. Quick news. So, guys, Ratchet and Clank turned 20 today, almost as old as Spencer. The date of recording, 4th of November, and to celebrate, we are getting a Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart exclusive armor pack. Whoop whoop. This is out now and at no extra cost, which is incredible. And we get 5 armors inspired by the game's franchised histories. I particularly like the Holoflex armor, which is inspired by the Ratchet and Clank Future, A Crack in Time. Absolutely love that game. I don't know if I'll be downloading the DLC because I have actually platinumed the game. Oh, it's a platinum. But we're getting something for free and we love a freebie on this show. So thank you very much to PlayStation and happy birthday, Ratchet and Clank. Okay, Spence, moving on to yourself. It's time for me to challenge. And as you know, I normally give you an impression of a female, and this impression is no different. I would like a female swimmer, Olympic swimmer, we'll go Olympic, doing the breaststroke. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, I'm gonna say firstly, I can't swim. As a human, I can't swim. So a skill I never acquired. And I actually used to be scared of water as a kid. So I didn't like doing it. It's quite hard to be a female swimmer, so I'll just be a female now. Alexa, turn on the bright light. Okay. That's my female voice.
This bed's seen a lot of action recently on the show.
I think every time Spencer gets on that bed, it's comedy, right? Regardless of what he's doing, it's funny.
It's gold. It's absolutely gold. Don't know what his legs are really letting down on this impression. You can tell he doesn't know how to do the breaststroke properly.
Could you not see my legs?
No, I could.
Have to take you swimming, Spence.
Yeah.
I'll drown.
Do you honestly not know how to swim?
Yeah, genuine.
We can teach you. That'd be a good thing. If you're enjoying the podcast and you want to see us make a positive impact on the world, then consider leaving a comment on YouTube saying, "Let's teach Spence to swim." And myself
we could
and Phil,
live stream it.
We could do some content for this, teaching him to swim. I reckon
we could get him his badges and his certificates. You know, like we went through in primary school.
I take Cass every Sunday. You can come with. Come with. That'd be class.
And I'll be on the side filming it. That'd be awful. Maybe I won't be filming it.
Be a bit mad, actually.
You'd get kicked right out. Yeah, they'd kick you right out. They know your sort. They wouldn't let you.
I'd just say you're my dad.
It wouldn't be the first time Spence has been on the podcast in his pants.
That's true.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
I've got some swimming trunks literally next to me. Hang on. Rubber duckies. Bought these for your hot tub, Phil. But these are what I'd be wearing. There we go.
If we hit 250 subscribers, we'll start making this a reality. For next year, that's the goal. 250 or 500 if we really want to stretch ourselves. Spencer learns to swim.
I hope you like my impression. I put my heart into it. My bed has seen some dark days. But quick news. Sony financials for Q3 are out. Or some, not specific numbers, but we've got some kind of weird financials from Sony. So PlayStation Plus has lost nearly 2 million subscribers since its revamp in June. However, revenue per subscriber in the PS Plus segment has risen 21% year on year. And the PlayStation 5 has cleared 25 million units shipped. However, gaming profits have fallen 49% due to the rising costs. Not a lot to talk about there, so let's just move it on. Davey, I am bringing it round to you. My impression for you this evening. I didn't even have a sound effect then. I was just told to swim. Oh, okay. My impression for you. I'm going to give you drinking a cup of coffee, but it's way too hot.
We've all been there. This is something that's like a daily occurrence.
Dribbled on his new Returnal t-shirt.
I have
Sounds
dribbled
like you're
everywhere.
drowning, bro, in coffee.
That's what I'm going to sound like when I try to swim.
Hot. Quick news. And this quick news has been taken over by COD News. This is COD News. So many different COD stories. So I bundled them all together into one giant piece of news. But we'll break them down as we go. So the first one. Congratulations go to Modern Warfare 2. And no surprise really to anybody. It is the biggest Call of Duty launch ever, generating over $800 million in its first 3 days on the market. It even beat out the biggest box office releases from this year, which includes Top Gun Maverick and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. How insane is that? Now, we're always saying on the show that COD is an absolute powerhouse. You do not want to release alongside it. You stay the fuck out of the way. There's a reason why there's so much shit kicking off between Sony and Xbox when it comes to Call of Duty. Nothing else pulls in this kind of numbers. Was this surprising to any of you guys? I suppose the big thing for me is the biggest Call of Duty launch ever is a big deal. Because like Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 back in the day and Black Ops were fucking huge deals. So to see this eclipse those, that's quite surprising to me. I knew it would do good, but this good, wow. Any thoughts on it, guys?
For me, as I'm a little bit older, I find it so hard to kind of put into context that it's beating movies, right? Movies have always been the thing that I've sort of grown up with, and then sort of video games, I suppose, a little bit later on. But games are bringing in bigger numbers than movies, Marvel movies. It's just absolute madness. And I'm not surprised because the game is incredible and I was one of the ones to buy it. But I also went to see Doctor Strange, so it's a negative number really, isn't it?
I think there's kind of 2 points to bring up with this. And the one point is that, yes, it's eclipsed Top Gun Maverick and Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. However, to go see those movies cost you, what, like £13? To buy Call of Duty costs you $60. So you got to think about the price. They're earning more per copy. So granted, it's earned more money. It probably doesn't have as many people playing COD as many people who have seen Doctor Strange. So in terms of like profit, yeah, it's way more. But there are probably more people who are watching films than playing games, and that's the way it is. However, what you said, Davey, where you're surprised it's beaten such massive hits like Black Ops 1 and the original Modern Warfare 2, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, because gaming is just getting bigger on a whole year after year after year. There's just more people playing video games. The amount it's risen since those years, that was like, what, 2011, 2012, maybe even earlier. It's probably up like, it's probably up like 40% since then. It's probably up a massive number. And what are people going to, if people are new to gaming, they're just going to buy what's popular. So that's going to be FIFA, Call of Duty, It Takes Two, and not Sackboy. And that's just what's going to happen. So it makes perfect sense to me. And the biggest Call of Duty ever, I think it kind of leans towards the fact not a lot of people liked Cold War or Vanguard, but the original Modern Warfare, the remake of Modern Warfare, the 2019 release, sold gangbusters and everyone loved it. Literally everyone loved it. And it introduced Warzone. That's what it's tied to. That's the engine it runs off. And throughout the years, even if people didn't play COD, they've come into Warzone because it's a free-to-play thing. This is a sequel to that game. All those Warzone players that never played any other Call of Duties are going to want to come in for this, especially now that it's coming with Warzone 2.0. It just makes perfect sense to me that it's the biggest launch we've ever seen from Call of Duty. Easily.
All great points. All great points. And things I hadn't really considered. So thanks for that, Spence. Very well done. Carrying on the COD news. Museum. Do you remember that map from the beta, guys? I loved that map. It was a class little map. Well, giant map, actually. But it accommodated a lot of different game styles. You could have some up-close combat, some long-distance fights, all set around a lovely museum. Well, it turns out, for some reason, Activision decided they were going to use an in-real-life location, and they used the Getty Museum. And the museum are like, nah, we don't want our game featured in here. We don't want people getting blown up and people saying curse words all over our lovely museum. So we're not letting you use it. And so the museum's banned. And speaking of other maps, and this one though, I think this one is, I'm falling on the other side of this one, but we'll cover them off together as a twosome. Hotel, my favorite map in Modern Warfare 2. The map from the beta, the map where I get my most cracked comebacks, my best kill streaks, get Lackman sub on that map and it just goes wild. Well, they're not happy that they're in this game. So this again was based off a real hotel. Now this is as reported by, and I might butcher this, I do apologize, Der Volksrand, as translated by PC Gamer, the manager of the Conservatorium, I think that's how you say it, the Conservatorium Hotel in Amsterdam, said the business is currently considering how to deal with its near exact recreation in Modern Warfare 2's Tradecraft level and Breenburg Hotel multiplayer map. Now, guys, what do you think about this news? Because for me, personally, I think taking something of like a real, like, huge thing like a museum that exists, you gotta have some balls on you because I couldn't see them being okay with that. But this little hotel getting this level of kind of publicity, where's the downside with this? How hype would that be for somebody who's like a massive COD fan to think, oh, I'm going to go to Amsterdam, I'm going to go to this map. I'm going to go and see this map in real life. Like, surely this is good advertising, or am I just being insane here?
I think you're definitely not being insane. I think if they were to genuinely think about this, it would be smart to just be happy to have the hotel in. But obviously the hotel news came after the Getty Museum news. So I think the hotel probably, or the CEOs of the hotel, whatever it is, the owner of the hotel probably heard about the Getty thing, realized their hotel was in Call of Duty and thought we could do the same thing and make a quick buck off of Activision. And yes, they can. But is it good for their future? Probably not. So I think they've kind of thought more about short-term income rather than just people wanting to actually visit the place that they adored in the video game, which is, in my opinion, the better outcome. I'm along the same lines as you, I think.
For me, I completely agree with you, Davey. I can totally understand why the museum would probably be against this. Generally, museums are run by councils and they don't understand video games, and it's all very negative, especially if people are going around killing people in said museum. They want to get as far away from that as possible. But if you are a little, I say little, it's probably quite a large hotel in Amsterdam, and you have been picked up for being in COD, maybe you're doing the right thing by bringing it up, because your name gets into the media. So maybe they are marketing geniuses with this move. Because they haven't said no, but they haven't said yes, but they said, that's us. That is us in the game. So now everybody knows the name of that hotel. Okay, they can't pronounce it. Davey can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it. Spencer can't pronounce it. But it's in Amsterdam. It's a hotel. It's a real place. We could go and visit it if we are that passionate. So I'm saying genius.
I think that's a really good point, to be fair. That is actually a really good point, kind of like playing, like doing the devil's advocate side to it and being like, oh, I can't believe they used our hotel in this, grrr. and then be like, fucking rake it in, lads. Put the Call of Duty bundle in. We'll have a room, Call of Duty room, when they got a setup in there. That's what I'd do. If I was this hotel, I would literally just do a video on YouTube and say, you've played on the map, now experience the real thing. And then have a Call of Duty suite, which is like a suite where you've got like 4 setups, 4 of your mates can have a LAN setup in there, in like a really luxurious suite, so it's top dollar, so that influencers and stuff want to go there and experience it. You can make fucking bank off this idea, like absolute hand over fist stupid money, but they don't have us running it.
100%. You'd have Dr. Disrespect in there. You'd have Tim the Tap Man. You'd have all those knobheads who are at the top of their game, absolutely selling COD at the wazoo, and they'd market your hotel for free. They wouldn't need paying. They would just enjoy to be there because it's a real life Call of Duty. It'd be incredible for content for them, and you would get some awesome marketing. So let's keep a close eye on that, guys, and I'm sure we'll be reporting about that on future podcasts if there's any more news.
Speaking of more news, the last part of COD news before we move it back onto the regularly scheduled show, and this is one that I'm actually really excited about. So, Ranked Play is arriving on Modern Warfare 2, no surprise, in 2023. And this is tweeted out by Activision. And they're saying they're working with our partners to deliver competitive modes, ranked skill divisions, visible skill ratings, top 250 leaderboards, and competitive rewards, with more details to come shortly. Now, for me, I think that as soon as they introduce a ranked mode, it's time to turn off skill-based matchmaking. Because what's the point in it existing? You've got ranked play, which is the whole point of that kind of mode. You're playing against people that are similar rank to yourself. You're going in, you can have that sweaty experience. But your casuals, it's just everyone like it used to be. Because then you're appealing to what the most vocal, and sure, they're the minority, because we know that the vast majority of COD players don't probably even follow Activision or don't care too much. They just play it every year, and they're casual console owners, whatever. Totally cool. But the vocal minority here are extremely, extremely upset with SBMM, skill-based matchmaking, and they have been for years. So if you've got a rank play that comes out relatively quick, now COD does seem to kind of take its time when it comes to a ranked play, but seeing as we got 2 years potentially with Modern Warfare 2, if all the rumours are true with this, getting it out and being able to separate that, to me, makes complete sense. It's the difference like when we were playing, if you think about when we played Apex does exactly that same thing. No SBMM in there. You've got your ranked play, and then you just get chucked in then in casual lobbies with people that are absolutely sweaty as hell. And so you got the casual becomes even harder than normal because the ranked play, you got such, bronze level. Who the fuck's bronze anymore? So I think that would be the way I would deliver this. I don't know if you guys got any thoughts on this.
I definitely have thoughts, and it's very much the opposite of you. So many people complain about SBMM or skill-based matchmaking, literally everyone. But I think the way you need to look at it is the people who are complaining about skill-based matchmaking are the good players, and the people who, as much as they'll complain, they're gonna keep playing the game. They will. They just will. Whereas the casuals who don't play the game often, who aren't as good at the game, if skill-based matchmaking doesn't exist and they get matched with like some sweaty kids who are cracked at the game, they'll probably be like, this game's shit, I'm just not going to play it anymore. Skill-based matchmaking puts the casuals against the casuals and makes them feel good at the game. And that gets them to keep playing. If they mix that up, the casuals aren't going to stick around. Whereas with skill-based matchmaking, sure, the pros are going to complain. They're going to keep playing regardless. They're going to, because it's Call of Duty. So I think skill-based matchmaking in all the modes is the best way to keep player attention in the game. And if they change that, I think they'd probably just be quite silly.
The only thing that goes against that, I think, for me anyway, my only counterpoint, before I hand over to Mr. Hoy, if you see if he has any opinion on this, is that when you go into parties, it throws that off completely because it goes to whoever's like the highest SBMM. So when you and me are playing in the party together, fine, no problem at all. But like Phil had a tough time in lobby with us, and I was thinking, this isn't like this isn't as fun as it could be if maybe he was playing on his own or anything like that. And I think, like, I'm not just an average COD player. Like, as much as I'm hyping up about being on Krakatoa, compared to what I see on Twitter, I'm average as fuck. Like, I see people doing stuff on COD that I think, oh my god, like, I could never do that. If I got put in a lobby with that guy, if that guy was my mate, right, who's like pulling off these like absolutely insane COD skills, and I got put in there, I would be going like 0 for 20. And I'd be like, oh, this is fucking bullshit. Like, and then he's like, oh, I can't even play with my mate anymore. Like, whereas you got a mix of everyone and it was running the gambit. Like, one game you might get fucking destroyed because you got some real sweats. But the next game, you might be top of the leaderboard. You never knew. That was the kind of fun about it. You kind of went in there and it was that you never knew how you were going to do. And if you had like 5 games on the bounce where you were absolutely slaying, you're like, okay, I'm actually pretty good at this. Whereas now, you never know if you're good or not. Because you might be top of your leaderboard, but they might all be shit. Because your SBMM's looked after you. And then you have that one game where, actually, no, now you've done so well, welcome to the big leagues, kid. And you get fucking destroyed, and you have a terrible game, and you think, oh, SBMM's bad for me now. I'm going to have 5 games of this before it then reverts to realising that I'm actually pretty gash at the game. And so I think there is definitely an argument to be had for getting rid of SBMM. I can see your points completely, and I understand them, and I actually kind of agree with them. But I can see the other side as well. And I remember that side before SBMM. And I think that's kind of where I'm coming from this. That little bit of nostalgia that you didn't know what you were going to get. It's kind of exciting. I don't know if you got any opinions on this, Phil.
Yeah, I think for myself, and I'm not really talking about COD specifically here, but I think there needs to be kind of a mixture of both here. You have your leagues, you have your rank system here, but you should also have the skill-based matchup mixed into that to keep you kind of honest, if you like. Okay? So in League, for example, I'm at a certain level, not a very high level, even though I do talk about it quite a lot. I'm very passionate about the game. But when you're there and you're losing game after game after game, you think you're in what's known as the loser queue. Okay? You're queuing up with losers to lose the game. But you're not really. That's just a mental thing within League of Legends. But if skill-based matchup was set up there, then you would start to get matched up within your rank against people of kind of a similar skill. So you've got more chance then in climbing those ranks. If you're good, you're good. So you'll always climb past those people with the skill-based matchups. This is why I can't get over. I think it was Tim the Tapman, as we touched on earlier. I think he was complaining about skill-based matchups because he doesn't look as good. He likes being the big fish in the small pond. He likes being that guy going around blasting noobs, right? He doesn't like to be the best of the best. He's not a true competitive player, which is what I'm talking about here. If you're good, you'll rise through the ranks. But if you had a mixture of both, then you've got more chance as someone like me to have a good time while you're trying to grind for that rank.
I think that's a really good point. And it kind of, I suppose this is the thing, is that no matter what they implement, someone's going to be pissed off. And like you said, Spence, I suppose the thing about it is that if you look after the most casual, then they're going to keep buying the game. They're going to keep coming back year after year because they have a fun time. And that's ultimately what matters, right? Like, the vocal majority, the real sweaty kids who really, really care about SBMM, who go off and they're like, oh, why can't I get my nuke on this level? I'm never going to get my nuke. I've got to create a brand new Smurf account to be able to get a nuke so I can post it on Twitter. Those people, fuck them. They're like less than 0.01% of the COD player base. And that's how COD view it. And I can understand that viewpoint. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily. But I can understand both sides of the argument. So it's something I don't feel too passionate about. But I think that this would be a good way, if they did have rank play, to be able to create that line in the sand between both camps. And your ranked play would be where you can go for kind of your more SBMM perspective, where it does rank you up, with the other people that are in your rank. And with normal COD, on just normal settings on quick play, it's just a free-for-all, and it's just you hope for the best. Some games are good, some games are bad, but that's the line you kind of cross. But this is a very decisive topic, and obviously you've got our points on here, but I'd love to know what you think about it. If you're very passionate about SBMM, or if you don't care at all, write in, let us know. psvtrust@gmail.com. Reach out to us on the socials. And that's where we're going to end COD news. So let's bring it back onto the regular scheduled show. So Spence, I'm going to come across to yourself. I want to hear the sound of a lumberjack cutting down a tree using a chainsaw.
That's a difficult one, man.
I didn't throw it at you. You tried to do chainsaw and I said it sounded like a platypus. Here's my tree.
He's big on the props, isn't he, Spencer?
Loves a prop.
Loves a prop.
Yeah, I gotta try get an edge in somehow, but it's going bad. It's been a bad few weeks. I gotta do something.
You haven't
Racking
lost
up
it.
the,
have you? You haven't lost
shots
it.
for...
Has he lost
I
it
lost
for a
last
while?
week, even though I did 2 rolls, fam.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah.
I did a backwards and a forwards roll and still lost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Trying to find a chainsaw, but I don't have one. So it's just my hands. Ring ding ding ding. Ring ding 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 ding. Ring ding 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 ding. Quick news. So we have an update on The Last of Us TV show by HBO. So, according to multiple Twitter users and verified by VGC, the entry for the show on the HBO Max app lists the release date as January 15th, 2023, and it arrives on January 16th, 2023 on Sky. But there's a little bit more Last of Us news, so we're not just going to mention the show, we're going to mention something else as well. This is verbatim what they posted on Twitter. Naughty Dog, that is. We're excited to announce The Last of Us Escape the Dark, a new board game experience set within the Last of Us universe, created by our friends Themeborn. The Kickstarter goes live November 8th, so stay tuned for more soon. So we've got a TV show and we've got a brand new board game from the universe of my favourite game of all time. What a time to be alive. I love The Last of Us. So passing it over to you, Phil. Moving on swiftly. My impression for you this evening. I'd like to hear someone carrying the shopping, struggling to get the keys in the door.
Okay, I like very creative, isn't it, this? So carrying shopping, going around the supermarket. Of course, I've not got any bags, okay? So I'm just trying to put them on. So... Right. Reach it down, get the keys, jingle, jingle, jingle. No, wrong pocket. Down to the other pocket. Oh, there they are. It's a spooky door.
The spooky door.
Great. Right.
Quick news. So guys, footage of Hideo Kojima's unannounced horror game, Overdose, has seemingly been leaked. This comes after the footage has been seen on social media, featuring Margaret Qualley, I'm really bad at names, and that's Mama from Death Stranding. She's been using the flashlight to navigate dark corridors on the third-person perspective. We know Kojima-san loves horror movies. To be fair, movies in general. But he's been threatening to make a step into the genre and create, as he describes, a revolutionary horror game ever since he released Death Stranding back in November 2019. Now, guys, I want to ask you, could this be his next big title? Or just another one of those little games that he likes to play with us? Davey, I'm coming over to yourself.
Definitely a game. 100%. It's definitely a game. What was shown there looked like a... Sorry to elicit this response from all of us, because I know we're all thinking it. A playable teaser. That's what it looked like. The game, you don't put this much effort in to throw people off the scent. You think about what was done on like the Metal Gear Solid 5 campaign. It was about like a whale. And it was about like White Whale Fishing Company or something random. Whereas on this, it's like a Hideo Kojima game. It's 100% that. It's got to be. The bigger question is when we're going to see it, I suppose. That's the big thing that's kind of really kind of grabbing me at the minute, is thinking, like, this looked... It didn't look that good, I'm not going to lie. It didn't look that, like, I wasn't like, whoa, my God, what am I seeing? it just looked like a kind of rip-off of Silent Hill, if I'm honest with you, but looked kind of a bit shit. But it's Kojima. So does it mean I'm going to have 20-minute conversations with people in a corridor? Probably. Am I down for that? Yes. Yes, I am. With a great soundtrack. Bring it on. So anything he does, I'm going to be licking it up. I'm going to be straight in that fucking milk like no one's ever seen it before. Like a cat on speed. Like really getting in there. Getting in the fucking amongst it. I can't wait. I can't wait because it's Kojima. If it was anyone else, I'd be lukewarm as fuck on this because it didn't look that impressive. But yeah, definitely his game.
I don't know about yourself, Spence. How are you feeling about Kojima's new horror game?
I think definitely a game as well. And I think it's a case of, since Konami kind of screwed him over and now he's on his ones, got his own studio, got his own Kojima Productions, I think he's kind of just like, I'm going to try and make the hottest shit I have ever made so you lot can watch my success. And I think that's kind of what he's doing. And now he's still Kojima. He's still Kojima. He's still so weird about how he goes about everything he does. But I think he's just trying to be bigger and bigger and bigger until he is the biggest fish in the quite a large pond. And I think that's his goal. I think this is going to be a big game. And I mean, as Davey said, Silent Hill-esque, but worse. I mean, I don't think we'd think that if we hadn't seen the Silent Hill showcase recently, where that looked quite good. But it's Kojima. It's Kojima. Whatever he makes is probably going to be great.
And it's not about money for him anymore. I don't know if it was on his podcast, Brain Structure, or where it actually came from, but they were talking about that he's not really interested in money anymore because he's getting studio after studio after studio, trying to buy him out, trying to get him on board. And it's just not going to happen. And I love that. He's at the top of his game and he is smashing out quality. So I am really looking forward to this. Obviously, I'm a Kojima convert, so I'm sure I'll be buying this day one regardless of the reviews. But from what I've seen, I'm there. I'm same as you guys. I'm down for horror games. We're in a revolution of horror games, and this is just going to add to it. I cannot wait. But Spencer, I don't know how this has worked out because impressions, it's not really your thing. You hate an impression. You actively hate this round purely because we've got to do impressions and you've got the most impressions. So I'm going to give you a stinker to end it. So I want your best impression of a farmer from Bristol milking a cow.
I'm going to go, oh, have you ever played the Nintendo Switch game 1-2 Switch? You go,
What is going on? What is this?
Bristolians are weird, man. I don't know what to say.
He hasn't even warmed her up yet. There's no, flirtatious nature with the cow. There's just nothing. Come on.
I'm sorry, boys. I'm sorry. It's so disappointing, but that's going to have to be it because I actually got lightheaded doing that. I was hanging off the bed. Quick news. Bristolians are weird, man. I don't know why they suck the tit like that, but they do. All right. Quick news. Final Fantasy 16 development is 95% complete. Release date is supposed to be announced later this year, and I don't quite understand this because quite a long time ago they said the game was done and that they were just using this time left over to kind of spruce up the game and make it better and kind of fix bugs and stuff like that. So I don't really understand how it's 95% complete. Maybe they're 95% complete on touching it up like I did to that cow. I don't know. But another bit of Square news. Square Enix have announced Symbiogenesis, a playable NFT collectible art experience similar to PlayStation Stars. So boys, bit of a weird bit of news. However, what are your opinions? Open floor. Whoever has something to say it.
This is fucking unreal. First off, I'll start with the positive. Final Fantasy 16 looks sick. I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since 10. I played Remake of 7, but that's just playing 7 again, but in a new coat of paint, right? Well, totally different. Anyway, 16 looks sick. It looks so good. From everything I've seen about it, like I'm going to be straight back on the Final Fantasy bandwagon. I know I am. It looks great. 95% complete, Spence. I would take that as being a case of when they're talking about the polish. So they're like nearly done to it going gold. Because, you've got to have a certain level of polish. And sure, after it goes gold, then they do even more polish, which is why we get a day one patch. But I would say that we're not far out from seeing this game go gold. And it means that the release date for this, surely we're talking Q1, rather than it being any later than that. Q1 we already know is stacked. February looks like a great time to release it, judging by what we were talking about earlier. I mean, chuck it out in Feb. It would absolutely fucking slaughter everything that comes out then. Like Atomic Heart, as much as I like it, it ain't competing with Final Fantasy. And that's just a goddamn truth. So, yeah, really happy with that. Great to see how far they're going along with it. In terms of this NFT game, Symbiogenesis, fuck off. Just literally fuck off. You're wasting my time. Even reading this out was a waste of my time. And every single person on Twitter, the comments are class. Because everyone shares the same opinion. How out of touch do you have to be at Square to release this now? In the tail end of 2022, when I can't think of a single thing that's actually benefited from NFTs now. The NFT market crashed to the fucking ground. It's dead. Everyone who invested in it and was like bigging it up lost a shit ton of money. Nobody cares, and it's almost like a curse word. Square, do better. Do better. Stop wasting your goddamn money and get someone who knows what the fuck they're doing. Because selling off all your Western developers and then releasing this shit, totally disappointing.
So one really positive, one really negative. Phil, where are you standing on this?
Well, I can't really talk too much in terms of the Final Fantasy side of things because it's not really a series I'm that clued up on or really that interested in, to be honest. I've never actually played a Final Fantasy, and I'm still dreading that at some stage we might do a spoiler cast from the past, and that'll probably win if that gets nominated, I'm sure, because it's a very popular game, number 7. But going over to NFTs, my God, every time I hear that acronym, it's just an eye roll, isn't it? It's just a whole room of people just going, really? Like, is there ever anything positive about a sentence when someone mentions the word NFT? There really isn't. It's just so negative now. And I would love for someone to turn it around and put a positive spin on it, but I just don't see it from Square Enix. I just don't see a future in NFTs. Of course, there are the chances out there. There are the people that have made lots of money from it, but unfortunately, it's just not the majority, and it's not something I'm personally interested in. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's fair enough, mate. Like, similar to you boys, I've played Final Fantasy. I haven't played since 13, unless like you, Davey, unless you count the 7 remake, which is just a very different game. I've played a little bit of 14, I guess. Oh, not 14, 15, I guess, but 13 was probably my last actual dive into Final Fantasy, and it wasn't great. It was on rails. It was not a good time at all. But 16, like you said, Davey, it does look really, really good, and I do agree with you. I do think this 95% complete is probably the polish. Or at least I'd hope so, which means this game's been done a long time, like a really long time, and they're just sprucing it up, making it perfect for release, and that is fantastic to hear. I'm not sure about Q1. I'm really not sure, because we still don't have a date. We still don't. Still. I'd imagine Q2, more realistically Q3, I think. I think Q3 in a month that's not competing with anything a bit strong, so like Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, or anything Sony's putting out, because Sony puts out the bangers. In terms of Symbiogenesis, a playable NFT collectible art experience, who cares? It's not going to get touched, and if it does get touched, it's going to be by those people who are NFT believers, who still think it's a potential way to make money, and it just isn't. It really isn't, other than maybe a couple of pence. It crashed so hard. All the people that spent like 200 grand on NFTs, they're worth like £8 now. None of it is worth the same as it was. The market died. For Square Enix to be doing this now, it's just not tangible. It doesn't make sense. If they did this a year ago or 2 years ago, it makes perfect sense. Now, it's way too late. And you'd think they'd have thought about this after seeing the market, but they just haven't. And it's very weird to me to see so many different studios still kind of supporting NFTs, because it creeps up quite often, or more often than I'd imagine. And I just don't understand it. Maybe they know something I don't, but it makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
It's like that same thing though with like battle royales. You know, when they were like all the craze, everyone was putting one out, and someone finds some success, and everyone just says yes, greenlight it, go, go, go. But the difference is, video games take years to come out, and so by the time they probably greenlit this, they were already behind the curve, right? Because there was some success in the NFT market, and then it starts coming up closer to release, and they've already spent X amount of money trying to get it out the door and trying to get the idea and pitching it and really like, yeah, we believe we can really do this and get some money, and this is how the NFT market showing, yeah, how much you need to make this? Oh, here's 5 million, get it done, quite a cheap project, great stuff. And then now they put too many eggs in one basket. They've already put it all in, and it's too late to pull back and be like, well, just fuck it off. And they're like, well, who knows? Maybe we'll hook, line, and sinker a couple of people that, like you said, like the enthusiasts. But I just think things like this, like we've all said and we've all agreed on this, it just harms your image. It's just scummy. It just comes off as scummy. I don't think there's any other way that this whole market can turn around, because, I mean, whoever does it will be in a gold mine if somebody does crack it and they make it work. But personally, I think that it's like loot boxes. It's like dirty word. You just don't go near it anymore, and that's, this game's just going to be dead straight away.
Well, boys, lovely discussion about that horrible thing we've just heard about. But that is the end of quick news. So Phil, as this is typically your segment, take it away.
Okay, Spencer. Thank you for that kind introduction. We are at the end of quick news, guys, and we heard some fabulous impressions this time round. I really appreciate all the effort you guys have thrown into the mix. Davey, we've heard your gambler impression, we've heard your Russian gymnast, and we've heard you drinking coffee. Spencer, we've heard you throw a stone. We've heard you as a female Olympic swimmer. We've heard you as a lumberjack and a Bristolian milking a cow. And then for myself, I did an impression of an accountant, a falling child, and a man carrying the shopping opening a door. So some interesting stuff there. I'm going to come over to yourself first, Davey. And I want you to praise a winner. What was your favourite of tonight? Because actually this means nothing.
Oh, of course it means nothing, but it's quite nice to get built up before you get smashed down. And not to allude to anything, because that actually, that spoiler alert, that isn't true here. Phil, you absolutely killed it with the Scrage knee. Absolutely killed it. You went so far and beyond. I was expecting like a little, like the Family Guy, maybe like a little like walk off, like, you know, like where your knees just like not quite going right. But you went like full on, like if Cass fell over, and we've just been to hospital with him where he's like smashed his head, and it's pretty much bang on. It was perfect. So you really delivered. You did the performance. You set it up right. You did all the sound effects leading up to the Scrage, and the Scrage. I believed it. I saw it. My heart started fluttering. I thought, this poor boy, I'm gonna have to go and rescue him, and pull out the Paw Patrol plasters, and it sung to me on every level. Well done.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. And I'm back, baby. Back into doing good impressions. It's been a couple of weeks where I've done some dodgy ones, but I am back. Thank you very much for that one. Spencer, what was your favourite of tonight?
Well, see, I was going to give it to your Scrage knee, mostly because it's a word that doesn't exist. Davey dreamt it and gave it to you, and you still managed to succeed in such a fantastic way. However, I'm actually going to give it to still you, Phil, still your impression, carrying the shop in and struggling to open the door, just because I wasn't on board at first. I really wasn't. But then you had the thing of, oh, fuck, wrong pocket, man. Fuck. Grab the thing. And then you brought back the squeaky door. The reference, the spooky door, the reference with the spooky door. What a throwback for the podcast. What a clever little implementation you provided. And for that, mate, you're my winner tonight.
I hate you guys because this actually means nothing. All this praise means nothing. It means literally nothing. I get no benefit from being rewarded with your praise tonight. But I'd like to give some praise to one of you in particular tonight, because Spencer, it's not you. Davey, you're drinking a coffee. I believe that. I've seen that many times. I've seen yourself drink coffee and it was spot on. It was perfect. You burnt your tongue. You really embodied a person drinking coffee. So well done. So I'll take the 2 points. You can have the 1. And unfortunately, Spencer, you're on 0 for that one. But actually, it means nothing. So moving on. Spence, I'm going to give you a chance to nominate your worst. So this is punching down. This means something. So whoever's got the most worsts, gets a shot. And they'll be doing that at the big quiz.
Oh, it's going to be me, but I'm going to give it. Remind me of Davies again, because I have one of yours. What were Davies? It was drinking coffee.
So we had the Russian gymnast, you had the drinking of the coffee, and the gambler.
Okay. So yeah, I was going to give it to you. But however, I think I'm going to give it to Davies, Russian gymnast. Because neither it wasn't Russian, nor was it a gymnast. And whilst he was getting his props, Phil, you and I had a conversation. We was like, what could he possibly get? And I said, I bet it's a kazoo. I bet it's just a kazoo. And I said, the only way he can salvage that is by playing the Russian national anthem on the kazoo. And that is not what he played. It's not what he played. So for that reason, I have to give it the worst. It just wasn't an impression of what you were asked to provide.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Take that on the chin. Take that on the chin.
Right, Davey, I'll give you your chance now to respond. What was your worst of the night?
There are some great ones, right? There are some actually really good ones today. But there were some absolute stinkers. And I'm really sorry, Spence. But there was pretty much 3 of them that were really bad. The first one, I don't think this is the worst, but the first one, the lumberjack. Where was timber? Where was fucking saying timber? Like, it's the most obvious thing ever. Timber. The chainsaw was good, but you got to sell it with everything else. And if a lumberjack's cutting down a tree with a chainsaw and not shouting timber, he's getting taken off that site straight away. I totally took me out of it. I was like, no, this isn't believable whatsoever. So that was bad. The Bristolian milking a cow, though. What the fuck was going on there? You were led down on the bed, looked like you were noshing off 3 guys. And no, it wasn't any Bristolian about it. There wasn't a single attempt at a Bristolian accent. There wasn't any, like, didn't go up and slap the cow. Good girl, Bessie. Right? And go up and get obviously, they're not going to milk it into their mouth. You got to get the thing, the bucket, put it under. Could have got mank with it, but maybe you could have gone like a little suck on the teat after. There's so much potential in that one, especially with a good girl, give me some of that milk. Like, really go for it. Totally wasted. You just led down. All I could see was your fluffy mic and your hand doing this. The bed failed you on this occasion. It was a brave choice, total backfire. And that's my worst for tonight.
I mean, I knew my Bristolian milking was bad. And at first I was offended when you mentioned the lumberjack until you said timber. And I realised, yeah, that is a key point that I missed. Honestly, that's my B. That's my bad. My fault. Otherwise, good impression. But it was missing. It was missing that key aspect.
It's funny because I had exactly the same thing noted down. So just to see behind the curtain here for the viewers and the listeners, I've got a notepad up here. I'll type away a little bit of notes now and again. And I've got down no timber for the lumberjack. So Spence, that was something I noticed, the same as Davey. But Davey's Russian gymnast. As you said, Spence, it wasn't Russian and it wasn't a gymnast. And the only person that enjoyed it was Davey. But still, Spencer, I'm coming back to you because the milking of the cow was the worst. So you've seen what I've done there. I built you up, I've knocked you down, and I've come back to you. The milking of the cow, that was the worst of the night. There was no Bristolian in there. There was no real milking. Well, you had a bit of milking of something. There was no cow. There was just no substance, mate. And as Davey said, the bed let you down. It seems like that's your go-to. That's your happy place for impressions. This time, I'm sorry, my bro. The milking of the cow, that's an L.
Well, the thing is, right, I've used the bed 2 weeks in a row and I've lost 2 weeks in a row. So the bed has never worked. It's never worked for me. But also, you said, where was the cow? What did you want me to do? Get a cow? What do you mean? I was underneath the cow.
You could have slapped the cow on the ass. You could have said thank you. You could have caressed the cow. You could have gone under, give it a little scratch under the chin. You could have fed it some grass. Just something. I didn't see a cow there. I saw you lie on the bed, lie back, and open your mouth and go like that. That's all I saw. That's all I saw.
Yeah, it's one of those impressions that's so easy to visualize as well with the cow. You just imagine going out, pulling out the stool. You get like the stool. Oh, how's it going, old girl? Slap her on the arse a little bit, or slap her on the chest. Be like, ready for
What is it with you boys slapping the arse?
You gotta. It's a cow. That's what you do. That's what you. That's not what you do. Well, I think, seeing as what we imagine a cow milking and what you imagine a milking, you don't get under it, spread out, and start noshing off. That's not how it works. You don't get straight on the udder. You don't go udder to mouth. It's not how it works.
You've never milked a Bristolian cow and it shows.
You've got to win him over first, Spence. You've got to romance the cow a little bit. You can't just go straight in and,
That's why I started with the hand and then I moved to the mouth. That's how it goes.
It's an L. It's a big fat L.
Yeah, I'll take the L. Let's be honest, it was terrible. I'm trying to come back, but it was bad.
Well, on that surprising note, let's move it on to Rumour Has It.
Kick it! You wake up with a rumour and you don't want to go. You ask if it's confirmed and they still say no.
Rumour has it, and this is a pretty big one actually, the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is rumoured to be shown at the Game Awards this year. Now this comes from Twitter, where I originally seen this, so I'll just pull up the article right now. So this is coming direct from PlayStationLifestyle.net, so I'll read this kind of verbatim. So it looks like Konami's gearing up to announce the long-rumoured Metal Gear Solid 3 remake if a now-deleted video by its supposed developer is anything to go by. Last year, reports emerged that Konami had tasked Chinese studio Virtuos to handle the remake. Amid the rumours, a former Virtuos employee ended up revealing via a LinkedIn profile update that the studio was indeed working on an unannounced remake. This morning, Virtuos uploaded a mysterious teaser that hinted at a reveal at the Game Awards. Now, the teaser in question, which has now been pulled, contained a Morse code. And you know what the internet's like. Give them a code and they'll crack it. Fuck the Enigma code off. If Twitter was around at the time of World War II, they'd have cracked the Nazi code in an afternoon. They decoded that revealed 8/12/22, which of course is the date of the Game Awards. Now, this has all been pulled since then, and a copy of the teaser I can put into the description of the podcast for you guys that really want to see this. But it looks pretty much confirmed as far as I'm concerned. Guys, what do you think about this? Do you reckon they're going to show Metal Gear Solid 3 at the Game Awards? And I suppose the bigger question is, why Metal Gear Solid 3? Philip Hoy, I'm going to come across to you first.
It's a difficult one, this one, isn't it? Because I love Metal Gear on one hand, but Metal Gear Solid 3 is probably one of my least liked games within the series, unfortunately, even though it is, am I right to say, the most popular?
Yeah, I'd say so. You think about the games that are like the biggest, like for the game that can't be mentioned is number 4, and funnily enough, that's the one we probably dislike, one of the worst. So Metal Gear Solid 3 seems to be following that same line of thinking, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the guy that just hates it because it's popular. I played all the Metal Gear Solid games as they were released, and it was my least favorite growing up with the series. It's not something that I've changed my mind later on just to be, a little bit contrary when we're on the podcast. I genuinely feel that is the weakest in the series. Of course, I haven't revisited it in a long time, and maybe if the remake did come out, I would play through it just to see what the hype is about. Of course, this is relatively connected to the remake of the game that cannot be mentioned 4 coming out, and I will be replaying that again. Of course, they're going to be changing it to be a more horror, so it probably will suit me a little bit better. But when it comes to Metal Gear Solid 3, I'm hyped that it could possibly be the comeback to Metal Gear, but I wish they had just started with 1 and worked through the series. I don't understand why they would just jump into number 3 from my personal perspective, but from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, you want to hit the biggest numbers, and the biggest numbers are definitely going to lie with Metal Gear Solid 3 being the most popular of the series.
What about yourself, Spencer? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do have some thoughts. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you boys are a lot more informed in the Metal Gear IP than I am. But isn't 3 a prequel?
It is a prequel. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is. You play as Big Boss or something, didn't you?
You do indeed, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can't believe I knew that. Let's go. My mate Dan loves that game. There you go. That's how I knew. But I think it makes sense. Honestly, I was confused at first by why it'd be 3 until I thought about what I knew about the game, and that's that it's a prequel. So I don't think they'd call it Metal Gear 3 in the remake. They'd just call it Metal Gear Solid Remake or something, and just kind of fix the timeline, I suppose. Because obviously this prequel wasn't planned. This game, Metal Gear Solid 1, came out, and then down the line they thought, let's do a prequel. Whereas now they might be kind of trying to release the games, not in order of release, but in order of timeline. And I think that kind of makes sense. I'd probably rather them release the first game as a remake. But if they're trying to release them in terms of timeline, I think that makes sense too. And it's a perfectly fine way to go about it, especially, like Phil said, if number 3 is the most popular iteration of Metal Gear. I mean, it makes sense on 2 different points. So why would they not just go with that? And if it does fall short and people don't like it, they can be like, well, we chose this one because it's the first in the timeline. And then go on to release Metal Gear 1 and 2.
The problem is, if you were doing it in timeline order, you'd do Metal Gear Solid 3, then I believe you'd do Peace Walker, then you'd do Metal Gear Solid 5, then you'd do Metal Gear 1 and 2, then Metal Gear Solid 1, then Metal Gear Solid 2, then Metal Gear Solid 4. That would be the order, I believe. I could be wrong on that. I'm going off my head. But it's a fucking mess. It's a mess. And calling it Metal Gear Solid 3, if they were doing like a total kind of reboot for the timeline, would be wrong as well, because there's nothing solid about it. It's not even Solid Snake at that point. So it's a mess. It's a total mess.
Okay, I've just fact-checked you. If we're going to go in chronological order here, we've got Snake Eater first, then we've got Portable Ops, then we've got Peace Walker, then we've got Ground Zero, we've got the Phantom Pain, then we've got Metal Gear, then we've got Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, Sons of Liberty, Guns of the Patriots, and Metal Gear Rising.
Oh, of course, Metal Gear Rising. Yeah, totally didn't even think about Raiden going off and doing his stuff, doing his business. What a game that is, mate. Chopping watermelons up.
Excellent game, actually. Yeah.
Great game, yeah, fantastic. But yeah, I can see the business sense for this being number 3. I really can, because it's the same way that Silent Hill 2 releasing, not Silent Hill 1. It's the biggest pop you're going to get from the franchise. I get that, but there is something about the way that the game that can't be mentioned has done it, where and my personal opinion in this, of course, is that they peaked with the first remake, of course, but they've remade the first 3 games now. Now they're moving on to the 4th. You can see where they're kind of going with this, and what's next, that's going to be, everyone's guess. Code Veronica, hopefully. But I would fucking adore seeing a return to Shadow Moses and seeing Metal Gear Solid 1, and to really, if they were going to go through that and remake 1, then 2's coming soon. 2's super hype. 2's amazing. Whereas 3, what are they going to do next? It's kind of like, it feels like a kind of closed book in a way. It's kind of like a wasted potential.
I feel like it's completely short-sighted. They're just going for the big bucks. And that's not what you want to hear from a beloved series, really. You want them to start where it started. We want to see Metal Gear, the original, coming through first, you know. Let's go with the games that we grew up loving right from the beginning and work through the series. It seems so strange. And as you've mentioned, Davey, Silent Hill, they're jumping in at number 2. Again, they're chasing the dollar, the same as, I suppose, if this rumor is true, Konami here are chasing the dollar with going for number 3. But as a fan, it's just disappointing to hear, really, because I'm the same as you. I would love to go back to the original.
It would just be so hype. And to see those bosses, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 3, I don't going to spoil it for you, Spencer, because I know you haven't played it. Metal Gear Solid 3's got some amazing moments. Like, there's probably some of the best moments of the entire series is in Metal Gear Solid 3. There's some totally standout moments. The fight against boss at the end is something that, as soon as you experience, you never forget that. That's one of the most iconic moments in video games ever, I'd say. Even the long ladder climb to the music of Snake Eater is something that's burned in my mind straight after the fight with, I think it's the Fury that you have down there. It's been a while since I played it, but it's a great game. I mean, saying it's the worst out of the Metal Gear games is like saying that a 9 out of 10. It's a 9 out of 10 compared to a 10 out of 10. You know, it's still an amazing game. Metal Gear Solid 3 is fantastic, but I just don't hold it in the same regard as Metal Gear 2 or Metal Gear 1 especially, you know? It just ain't up there. And Metal Gear Solid 4 I fucking adore. I know that's a game that people like to shit on because it's mostly cutscenes, but it's hype. Seeing Raiden versus Vamp, this is like the hypest shit ever, especially when you just got PS3. Wild, absolutely wild. Anyway, do you guys reckon this is true? I suppose that's the bigger thing with this. Do you think that yes, that we're going to see this at the Game Awards this year?
Honestly, yes. Yes, I do. I think, I don't know. Because the thing is, is obviously it'll be a Konami title and it will be just kind of rough on Kojima. And Kojima and Jeff Keighley are boys. They go to the pub on the weekend. They are boys. And for Jeff to be like, yeah, I'll show Metal Gear 3. I don't think Kojima would be too happy. So I don't know. I really don't know. It makes sense for it to be shown. I do think it will be shown because ultimately Jeff's got a job to do. But I don't know if he'd risk worsening his relationship with Kojima when it's so strong. So I'm gonna say I believe it, but it's loosely. I loosely believe it.
What about yourself, Mr. Hoy?
I'm going to go 100% no. I think this is the internet clutching at straws for a beloved title. It's something that they want back, and ultimately they're putting the pieces together to the puzzle which they want to see, and that puzzle is Metal Gear Solid 3. So I really hope for my sake it's not, and I don't believe the rumor, so I'm denying this one. I do not want to see Metal Gear Solid 3. I would love to see what you've predicted many, many times for these shows, and that's to see our boy on stage in a box throughout the whole show, and at the end comes up, and then we see Metal Gear, the original, coming back. That's what I would love to see.
Oh, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all absolutely pop off? Oh my god, it'd be insane. I'd be so happy, especially if Blue Point were involved. Oh, baby, that'd be the dream. That'd be the absolute dream for me. If I'm dreaming, I might as well fucking dream big, boys.
I mean, our podcast is getting pretty good at predictions these days, so if we keep predicting something that hasn't happened yet, it's gonna happen one day, isn't it?
Exactly. I may have to buy PlayStation out to get Resistance, but it's gonna happen one day, baby. Do I think this is true, though? Yeah, I do. I actually do think this is true. And I think that Kojima, whereas back in the day, there was a lot of... I mean, he wouldn't even mention Metal Gear in interviews. Now, he's going on Twitter, he's sharing different images, he's sharing, like, videos. He's like, this is how we made this in Metal Gear Solid 4. He's, like, being quite open about the development process for different Metal Gears. He's talking about it quite a lot, actually, on Twitter. So I can see there being a case that it may have even been a thing where Konami even reached out and said, do you mind having a look? You know, even like, just have a little look at this and just make sure this is going okay. It could well be that he may be the person that comes out and is the face of it before it gets shown. You never know with the Game Awards, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Kojima-san going out and saying, I've had a look over this. I'm really happy with what the studio have been doing. Here's the first look at Metal Gear Solid 3. And that would steal the show. No matter what's shown there, even if Elden Ring DLC's there, it ain't competing with that. Like, that's another level entirely for video games. That would be insane. I mean, if it's good or not will be the big question. And Metal Gear Solid 3 was very revolutionary in its time in terms of how it worked. Still had the top-down perspective kind of camera, or slightly off from top, that the Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 used. But then it had a lot more in terms of the menu, the camo system, hunting for creatures and eating things, and was it rotten? There was loads of different cool little things. Like, if you ate a rotten bug or a rotten piece of meat that you had in your bag for too long, you had to make yourself sick, so you had to, like, pause the game and rotate the camera, like, a load of times to make Snake be sick then. There was loads of cool things like that. Will they be able to translate all that, I suppose, is the bigger question here. But we'll wait until we see more. And hopefully we'll be seeing it in a month. So that's all it is till the Game Awards. It's time flying by, guys. But that's enough talking about a rumour. Let's move on to the topics.
Stop! Topic time!
So, boys, we have two topics. Oh, we have, well, two topics, but one's a topic, one's a listener question. But we'll get to that after this. First, our first topic for the evening is, guess what? The PSVR2. Yes, that's why I'm introing this segment, listeners. I always come in with the specs, the facts, the tech. It's always me. And once again, we're back talking about the PSVR2. So recently in the past, we had a conversation about a Klarna website and the price being roughly £600. Well, we have news for you. The PSVR2 is going to launch in February. Don't know if that's a good choice, launching alongside Hogwarts Legacy, but that's what they're doing. And it's going to be launching at the price of $549.99. God damn, boys. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be able to beat out Hogwarts Legacy? What are your thoughts?
I want to jump straight in, and what I want to say is that the podcast has got this right once again. Cast your minds back to a guest we had on the show that Davey and myself interviewed, a Mr. Jason Bradbury. He came on and predicted that we would see the PSVR very early on in 2023. Okay, he wasn't very specific, but that's close enough for me. That's another win.
I mean, yeah, bang on. What a fantastic prediction. Not even from one of us, but a guest of the show. I mean, that tends to be what it is. And I'm actually, last time I said I thought the Klarna website was right. So I'm thankfully no bets on this one, but I've got the most shots out of all of us, so I think I've paid my dividends. So I'm quite glad. Davey, mate, any thoughts on this release date? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you mad? Are you glad? Let me know.
Well, I think going on those rhyming structure you built in there, I think I'm going to go for a glad. I think I'm glad. February release date seems okay. Like, it seems all right. And especially as we looked at the February release schedule, and it's quite a quiet month. So releasing this hardware along with the titles that you're going to be talking about in just a moment, I think this is a great time to be able to release this out there. Just past Christmas, which I bet is a shame for them. I bet they wish they weren't going there. But then you're kind of competing with the PS5 itself and God of War. So maybe this is quite a good idea to be able to space this out, get this out here. Maybe then you're talking about Spider-Man coming out towards the August time. I don't know about this. You got like hit coming out over like the space of a few short months, really, over the space of a year. You're just kind of spreading out your big guns, really. So yes, that's my kind of thoughts on it. It does make sense from that perspective. Now, Phil, have you got any thoughts on the release date itself?
Well, Davey, I think it's a terrible date to be releasing new hardware for PlayStation. Little Timmy, he's already had his PlayStation for Christmas. His parents have shelled out a lot of money for that hardware, and they've bought in games as well. and an additional handset so his sister can play. February comes around the corner and he's like, Mum, I want another $529.99 to buy more. No shot. It just ain't happening. It's the worst time ever to release straight after Christmas. And especially at that price point, I just can't see the uptake. Of course, they couldn't have got it out before Christmas. I'm sure they would have loved to. But February, what an awful time. No one's got any money in February. You know it is. January, February, have you got any money? You're just paying off Christmas. And that's what all the mums and dads are going to be like when their kids are screaming and shouting because they want PSVR2.
See, I got to disagree with you on this. I don't think this is for the mum and dad's purchase. Because with VR, generally there's an age limit anyway. So you're not getting it for young kids. Like a PS5, you potentially would do. I mean, they wouldn't anyway, the Switch. But I don't think it's for them. I think it's for the people that are in like Spencer's age group where they got money in their pocket to burn. They've got that disposable. They're living at home. Why the fuck not? Plus, it's my birthday in February. So guys, I'm expecting a good present this year. And I think you guys can look after me on this, you know? I'll be 33. Or am I 33 now? I can't even remember. I think I'm 33 now. I'm 33 now. I'm 34 next year. Fuck me, I'm 34. Sort me out, guys. I can't remember my own age. I need a VR. I need to escape to another world so I can pretend to be 21 again.
Fuck off.
There's
no way. There's no way.
No, I'm asking.
$229.99 or $529.99 so you can pretend to be young again? Bro, if you can't figure out your own age, you think you're going to be able to figure out the work of VR? That is ludicrous behavior. There is absolutely no way. But my opinion this time, boys, February. I think February's strong. I actually disagree with you, Phil. I'm kind of siding with Davey, except I know I'm 24. I think February's a great time, specifically for me. I'm not sure about... I agree with what you're saying about the parents not being able to buy, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you. You could buy your kid a pack of sweets and they'd be happy. I would not buy my kid a £500 headset that they're obviously going to break. No way in hell. Not unless they were at least like 13, 14. And even then, Fortnite's not on VR, so they're not even going to want it. So what is the point? Absolutely not. For me, February, I'll tell you what, I was very much against PSVR2 last time because I thought 600 quid was too much of a push and we didn't know a date. Now we know it's February and it's only 70 quid cheaper, but I'm actually really leaning towards it. I actually very much might buy it this time and I don't know why. But for some reason, just knowing it's almost in our grasp is very much leaning towards me. I think February is a strong date. I think it's great for the gamers who kind of... Christmas is done. Their expenses are gone. And it's literally like right on payday, I think. Is it late February or if they just said February? It's like February 28th, isn't it?
22nd.
22nd. So right before payday. So all you have to do is just keep that bit of money in February. And then that's it. You've got a PSVR 2. Buy it on Klarna, 6 months. Beautiful. And then it's payday 8 days later or 9 days later.
Straight in there, that pay packet getting rinsed. I'll have my birthday money and I'll be straight in there. And then I've got the big battle of keeping it off my son's head. Because he'll be wanting to play it all the time. And like you said, kids can barely operate in the real world. Don't put them in a virtual world. They're going to literally just run into everything. I want to have a TV. I want to have a door. Like, it'd be like on Looney Tunes where they're like running through with just a silhouette of them. There'd be nothing left. My house would be destroyed and I'd have a broken PSVR 2, which is the most important thing, of course. So, I mean, the VR vibrate on the head might cushion a little bit from the concussion that you might experience, but ultimately, it's going to ruin a £500 headset. I'm not having that. I'm not having that, no chance.
Bit of a side question, and it relates to directly what you're talking about, Davey. Are we getting to the point where we would insure something like that?
Well, I mean, you can go already now onto, Game or anywhere else, and you can get some knockoff insurance that, will protect your PlayStation for an extra year. It's all bollocks. Like, all those insurances, it's the same. Sorry for anyone who's out there that's got this. Anyone who's got insurance on a washing machine, fucking sort your life out. Cancel that immediately. You end up paying £10 a month for something that's like 130 quid to replace. Are you fucking insane? No. No, any good house insurance policy will cover this. It's all to do with this. We're getting very grown up here for this podcast especially. But it's all to do with your house insurance. If you've got good house insurance, you don't have to worry about it. Because if it breaks, if you've got accidental damage protection on, good times. You don't have to worry about it. And that's the way you go about it. You just got to make sure your excess isn't too high. And that's how you do it. But don't go and get suckered up by buying any of these specific insurances because they're all a fucking con. Very grown up. I mean, very grown up discussion. We did, didn't we?
Very grown
Let's
up.
bring it back down to earth. Let's talk about punching someone out or something. Talk about
milking cows. We can bring that back.
Yes, bring back the milking of the cows.
Oh, nah, no talk about cows, please. Thank you. That was a bad memory. I'd rather not discuss that again. But bringing this podcast back to its intended purpose, let's talk about some video games. So we've discussed the kind of, not really the price, but a little bit. We've talked about it. We talked about the release date, which I think is the important thing. How about some of the games they've announced for the system? So I'm not sure how to do this. I'm thinking we do a marry, kill structure where I say the game, talk about it, and then I ask you marry or kill.
Oh, I quite like that. Yeah. No shags then, just marries or kills.
Yeah, marry, kill, straight up.
Bring it on.
Do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first game, The Dark Pictures Switchback VR, developed by Supermassive Games. This is a long thing, so I'm not going to read it verbatim. But essentially, it's a multi-sensory ride where you'll need to survive to a terrifying ghost ship and its distorted apparitions. You need to confront hideous demonic incarnations of persecuted witches in 17th century New England. Now, boys, I know we're all fans of our horror, and Davey specifically. I know you're a big fan of Dark Pictures. So, is it a marry? Is it a kill? Phil, I'm going to ask you first.
I find it so difficult to jump on new IPs, even though I'm so hyped up about Atomic Heart. And I'm killing myself because I'm going against my own kind of standards here by possibly going for a collector's edition there and spending a lot of money. But something like this I'd find very difficult to get very excited about unless I saw some tremendous reviews and some, in-depth videos and some behind the scenes like I'm seeing for Atomic Heart. So for me, straight kill. I'm sorry about that one.
That's fair enough, mate. Our opinions are our own. Davey, how about you?
Well, they did this with Until Dawn Rush of Blood, which was for PSVR back in the day. So it's exactly on brand for what they've done before. Now, I didn't have a PSVR, so I couldn't experience that. I loved Until Dawn. I really enjoy the Dark Pictures anthology. I enjoy them every year. I've already pre-ordered the next one. So yeah, this is something that I'm really keen on, actually, to be able to go in and to be able to experience the different worlds that I know so well, from Man of Medan all the way through to the rest of the series. Yeah, this is for me, and I love light gun shooters, and that's what Rush of Blood was. So bring it on, hell yeah.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. That's basically the answer I expected from you. For me, I would say, yeah, I'd agree it's a marry. I think it's the kind of game where it's the kind of vibe I think would really sell well in VR. Horror kind of experiences in VR just kind of bang it out the door. They're guaranteed success if they're done well. And I think these guys have had a lot of practice, so they'd probably do a pretty damn good job. So yeah, it's a marry for me as well. So, moving on to the next game. Crossfire Sierra Squad, developed by Smilegate. I'm trying to skim this. You play as a leader of an elite fire team in the middle of a war over a top secret biochemical weapon. Ooh, getting some game you can't mention vibes. That has recently been discovered. Who is responsible for this weapon and for what reason? Be prepared to fierce resistance from all sides as you battle a variety of crafty enemies and a relentless search for the truth. So a bit more of an action military experience, boys, but who says that's bad? It could be a good thing. Davey, coming to you first this time. Marry or kill?
So co-op in a shooter on VR, dude. Like if we bought our VR units, that would be class. That'd be a great experience, I think. And shooter games, they're made for VR. That's exactly what they're made for. If it transcends and it's actually really engaging in terms of the gameplay, that would be the big question. But right now, in terms of co-op shooter, sounds great. That's enough to get it onto my marry list. I'll need to actually see some gameplay, I think, for this one to really be sold on it. But so far, got me in the door. Interested, at least.
Fair enough, fair enough. Maybe a cheeky fling. Phil, how about you? What's your thoughts?
I'm the same as Davey for all the reasons he's mentioned, but I'm not going out and buying the ring just yet. It's an idea that possibly in the future I will marry, depending if I see a little bit of action. But definitely gun games, co-op on VR. If we can all afford this system and we all go for it and we all get approved on Klarna to go through the payment system, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Bang on, mate. Bang on. Both of you, exact same minds. I think this would be a great experience, and it's co-op for up to 4 players, so we can all play together.
Oof.
What a fantastic
Gotta
time.
be
Granted,
done. Gotta be done, doesn't it? Surely.
if you think about it realistically, all 3 of us would be spending about 1,600 quid just to play this together. But what a time we'd have.
Think of the content you can have on that. You know, teabag. I can teabag you in real life when we go over to Phil's in 2 weeks' time. But it's not quite the same as doing it in a virtual reality, is it? Where you know it's happening to you, where you're not asleep, you know? And so doing it doing it like that, you know about it, and I'm not getting my balls near your face. It's a win-win for both of us, Spencer.
I mean, I'll be trying to lick them regardless, but yeah. Yeah, 100%. Alright, 3 marries for that game. Oh, well, so I say marries, 3 flings. But not bad, didn't expect that. So the next game, The Light Brigade, developed by Funktronic Labs. The world lies in ruins, and with each passing day, the light grows dimmer. Only you can offer the world a glimmer of hope. Not entirely sure what this game is. An atmospheric experience, which is further enhanced by realistic physics-based gunplay, creating tense, heart-pounding shootouts. Ooh. Sounds quite spicy. Don't know what you boys think. Phil, coming to you first. What are your thoughts?
I mean, compared to the last caption, that one didn't sell me at all, unfortunately. I would like to see some visuals for this game, but from what you've just read out and my initial thoughts, this one's going to be a bit of a kill for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yeah. Not going to lie to you, these are big paragraphs and I'm skimming. I'm skimming for details to save time. I don't want to read everything verbatim, but that's what I saw. So, Davey, over to you. What are your thoughts?
I've seen a trailer for this one, and it doesn't cut the mustard for me. It's a kill. It's a straight up kill. As much as I love, a shooter in VR, perfect environment for it, the graphic style just ain't hitting. It just doesn't appeal to me at all.
For me, boys, it's actually a kill as well, and it's because of the last sentence in this long paragraph, and it reads, The Light Brigade will be a cross-buy title for PlayStation VR2 and PlayStation VR. So it's kind of like the cross-generational games we're getting now with God of War, Horizon, and they're kind of icky to a lot of people. I've mostly, for the most part, been supportive of it. But the PSVR2 is so much more high-spec to the original PSVR that it kind of puts me off in this regard. It's kind of a different thing for me. So it's a kill for me as well, boys. This is such a neat kill for me. The next game. Cities VR Enhanced Edition, developed by Fast Travel Games.
Don't go any further. Fucking bin it. Who the fuck wants to play building a city in VR? We were only talking a little while ago about building roller coasters and stuff. Like, who's got the time? If you want to do that, become an architect. Or go into, I don't know, Alton Towers and do it for real. I don't want to do it in my spare time. I don't want to build someone else a fucking house. I don't care. Fucking don't go any further, Spence. Bin it off, mate.
All right, that's a very quick kill. Phil, over to you.
Yeah, let's just skip past this one. You know my feelings about building roller coasters, and they're the same as building skyscrapers. Like, that isn't a game to me anymore. Next.
Bless. All right, yo, boys, exact same opinion. I read this with dread. I didn't want to have a conversation about this game, so I'm actually super grateful. Thank you so much. The next game, Cosmonious High, developed by Alchemy Labs. Ooh. From the creators of popular award-winning titles Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator, I've completed Job Simulator, fantastic game. Comes an original creation, the comically catastrophic Cosmonious High. In a single-player alien adventure, players take on the role of Prismy, a rare alien species that can adapt to any situation. Upon crash landing into the school, players find that it is life of delightful characters but plagued by mysterious malfunctions. Players will unlock powers to help restore Cosmonious High to its former glory. Right, it's 90 FPS. Oh, that's peng. So, boys, I'm going to move this over. Davey, you were supposed to go first last time, and you kind of just stopped me where I was. But I'm going to come back to you anyway, because we didn't have a proper conversation. So, what are your thoughts on this game, mate?
I'm kind of torn on this, from honest, Spence, because I don't mean to put it down, but playing like Job Simulator on your Oculus was great. It was really fun, and it was a great way to be able to sell VR, to be able to say this is what it can do, this is the kind of cool stuff you can do. I don't really need those kind of gimmick games. I want something more from my games now. I don't want something like this. So for me, as cool as it would be, and I bet it's great, I bet it's really fun, I'm not interested in something like that. I want something with a little bit more meat on the bones. So it's a kill from me.
That's fair enough. Phil, over to you.
For me, it's a difficult one because it seems to be saying all the right things, but the visuals and the kind of feel of the game itself, it just isn't for me. I'm interested to see how they're using the technology within the PSVR2. They talk about the eye tracking. If you read some of the information provided around this game, the 3D audio is a big element within this game, but I'm just put off by the visuals. I'm sorry. Kill for me.
Fair enough. Boys, I'm going to surprise you. It's a marry for me. And the reason is, for one, I adored Job Simulator. I adored it. I thought it was fantastic. I 100%ed that game. I've got every achievement. I did everything you could do. But the reason it's a marry for me, there's one sentence they say, right, which just is the most bullshit sentence I've ever heard in my life. Utilizing the headset's eye tracking software, players' eyes move and blink as they do in mirrors or when taking their photo. Just make sure not to blink. What bullshit. Because they could say, oh, the character blinks when you do. Your eyes are closed when you blink. You ain't got no clue. What good is that? What stupid bullshit is that? Be like, oh, the character blinked, mind. It's like, no, he didn't. How am I supposed to know? My eyes were shut. But, okay, I digress. The reason it's a marry is because this game screams to me PS Plus. Screams PS Plus to me. So, it's a kill if I have to pay for it. But I guarantee it will be free within the first few months of the PSVR2. And that's why it's my marry.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. You got to think, like, the way that PS Plus rolls out has got to change as a result of VR. It has to, surely. I mean, it did for PS4 with the PSVR, so there's no reason to speculate on why it wouldn't. Would they go into extra? Probably. They'd probably put them into extra tier to make that have a little bit more value, even though it doesn't need any extra value to be able to sell itself. Yeah, I can see that. And if it's in there, I'll play it. If it's in extra, or even PS Plus or premium, whatever the fuck, who cares? Yeah, I'll give it a go at the very least.
Yeah, exactly my reasoning. So moving on to the next game, Phil, we're going to be coming to you first. The next game is Hello Neighbors Search and Rescue, developed by Tiny Build Games. I don't know if you guys have much experience with the Hello Neighbor games, but they're not for me. But I'll read this out. Mr. Peterson's creepy house takes on a new level of immersion in VR, and there is nothing quite as scary as actually seeing that familiar shadow tower over you just before everything goes black in Hello Neighbor Search and Rescue. You return to the house and take on the role of 6 little neighborhood heroes to confront their fears to free their friend who is held captive in a bizarre basement prison. You'll need to learn and master each of their unique abilities to solve puzzles, uncover mysteries, and make it out of the neighbor's house in one piece. All in the midst of trying not to get caught by the creepy neighbor himself. Just the thought of it sends our heartbeats racing. So, Phil, coming to you first. Does this sound like your kind of game?
I think I'm going to surprise you on this one. 100%. I quite enjoy the idea of this one. It seems like a VR escape room to me, crossed with a little bit of Sam and Max. I don't know if you remember those old PC games where you'd be hunting around a room for a certain item to be able to move on to the next. And you kind of learn the story as you go through the different systems and the different quests and challenges through the game. So this one, yeah, I think I'd enjoy to play it. I don't know if I'm paying money for it. I think if it's a free marry or it comes on some sort of PS Plus, I'd be in and I'd spend some time and probably enjoy this one.
Definitely surprised me. Definitely surprised me with that response. Dave, mate, how about you?
Total opposite approach, I'm afraid. Total opposite. For me, the Hello Neighbor games, they've always had a certain appeal to me because I do like horror and I do like being scared. But I like having some semblance of control. I don't like just hiding from stuff. It just doesn't appeal to me in the same way. Like, Outlast is an amazing game It really is on every single metric, especially Outlast 1 and 2. I can't play them. I just shit my pants. It's too much for me. I like to be able to inflict some damage, even if I know that I'm catastrophically setting myself up for failure later on. And here, Hello Neighbor is a franchise that's all based around you get spotted, you get caught, it's over. You know, like kind of you got to hide better, or you got to do stuff better without him seeing you. And this tension of him, oh, is he going to catch me? Is he going to catch me? I don't fucking care. We all know the Withers originals are the best way to catch kids, and the guy isn't using them. So I think he's fundamentally flawed. He's fundamentally flawed in his approach, and I don't want to be part of this system. I think that if you're trying to catch kids, pull out the Withers. It's a 10-0 matchup, guaranteed. If you've got a Dusty Van, Christ, you're really stacking the odds in your favor. But I just do not want to partake in this whole experience. I'm quite happy skipping this one.
Right, fair enough. I mean, I really dislike the Hello Neighbor games. I really don't like them. Same reasons for you, Davey. However, this is in VR, so it's gonna be scary. It will be scary, because anything in VR is scary. You could play literally like a game about bunnies, and for some reason it'll be scary in VR. But Phil, I'm just siding with you, because this is a co-op game where you solve puzzles, whilst the neighbor, a tyrant, is chasing you. Is this not just a game that can't be mentioned too in co-op in VR? Probably not as scary, but it will be because it's VR. And you get to solve puzzles with your mates. That's what we do, boys. We love puzzles, except for, I mean, there is some examples. Maquette, Phil, wasn't a fan of that game, I remember. But I love a puzzle.
I rated it the same as you did Metal Gear Solid, 6 out of 10.
True, actually so true. But yeah, I'm actually quite keen for that. I think I'm the same line of you, Phil, where if it's free, I'd love to dive in, but I don't really fancy paying for it. Ooh, moving on, the next game. Jurassic World Aftermath Collection, developed by Coatsink. Now, I've actually seen a lot about this game. It's supposed to be fantastic, so I'm going to read out a paragraph. This reworked version of the popular survival adventure game combines both Part 1 and Part 2 into one complete collection set between Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Players crash land on the familiar Isla Nubla and find themselves trapped in an abandoned research facility, featuring a fully voiced acted narrative led by Laura Bailey, who, if I'm not wrong, was Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. With Jeff Goldblum reprising his role as Dr. Ian Malcolm, the player's mission is to recover valuable information and survive while evading a host of ferocious and familiar dinosaurs. The game will also be in 4K 90 FPS with 3D audio. Okay, I think this one's coming to Davey now first. Davey, what are your thoughts?
When I first read the list of games that were coming, I totally brushed this off because I thought it was going to be the like Cities game, the City Skyscape game. Thought it was the dinosaur version of that, where you build your own dinosaur park. I was like, fuck that. I didn't realize this. This sounds cool. I mean, there's something different about being hunted by an old man or being hunted by dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are cool. I'm all about dinosaurs. This sounds decent. This does sound cool. And Jeff Goldblum's always a draw. Hearing his majestic tones in my ear is always a good time. It's a guaranteed recipe for success, as far as I'm concerned.
Couldn't agree more. Phil, mate, how about you?
Has to be a marry for me. Jurassic Park is one hell of an IP for them to nail down this early on into the PSVR2. And I can imagine so many people will look down this list and this will be the standout. Just because of the IP. It doesn't matter about what the game is. It doesn't matter who's actually voicing it. And that's amazing that we've got Jeff Goldblum there. My God, that's a big scalp to have in the game. But it's just the IP. It just wins people over and it's won me over. So that's a marry.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys. I'm actually not a fan of Jurassic Park. I'm actually really not. I never have been. I enjoyed the first Jurassic Park, and since then it's just kind of been downhill. However, this game is on the Oculus, and I was looking into it for a very long time. I watched gameplay, I watched reviews, I watched everything. This game is phenomenal. actually amazing. And for it to have both parts 1 and 2 into a collection and it just be upscaled to 4K 90 with 3D audio, there are segments where like you're in a kitchen, like the movie obviously, where you actually have to hide from the dinosaurs and just watch them walk past. It's terrifying. Actually terrifying. It's a marry. Easy marry. Absolutely easy marry. Not a fan of the IP, so kind of counter to your argument, Phil. But a marry all the same. The game's stellar. And to be able to play it on the PSVR2 would just be fantastic. Oh, boys. This next game. Okay. The next game is Pistol Whip VR. Oh, baby. Pistol Whip is an award-winning physical action rhythm game where thrilling gunplay and dynamic tracks collide, creating a dreamscape world for players to blast, duck, and dodge their way through to become the ultimate action hero. Every weapon has its own feedback for firing and reloading, plus adaptive triggers add a unique flavor by providing different levels of resistance when the clip is empty or full. Passing it to Phil first, mate. What are your thoughts?
You said the two words that turn me off from a game more than any other, and that's rhythm game. I've watched the video and it looks stunning, right? And I know both you boys are going to be like, day one, love it, marry, 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 marry. But I just can't get on board with rhythm games. I'm just not a fan at all. I'm sorry. It's a kill for me.
I'm not surprised by that, to be honest, Phil, because I heard your old band back in the day and there was no rhythm section there at all. So, this isn't a shock to me on any level. For me, I'm going to have to go for a straight up marry on this. I've seen so many different clips for people playing this game on different VR setups, and it's like nutty. It's like absolutely nutty. Throw me in. I will have so much fun chucking pistols at people, playing as Deadpool, all the different things I've seen. Yeah, in.
I'll tell you what, boys, this is an extremely biased opinion because I've put about 40 hours in the Pistol Whip on my Oculus Quest. This game is exceptional. It is fantastic. It's probably the best game on VR at the minute. Obviously, there's Beat Saber, which is highly popular. This is basically the same thing with guns. This game bangs, and it's a workout as well. I used to play every morning for about a half hour to 40 minutes, and that'd be me sorted. That was my workout done for the day. You take the headset off, and you're like, like me swimming as a female breaststroke swimmer. It was insane, actually solid, but it's so fun. You never want to stop playing. It's just a fantastic game, and it's easily the biggest marry on this list so far for me. Easily. Nothing's even close.
High praise.
Okay, so the next game, Zenith: The Last City, developed by Ramen VR. No idea what this is. I'll read this verbatim because it's structured very different from the other paragraphs. It says, Zenith: The Last City is coming to PSVR2 as a first-day launch title. The team is constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible, so I promise you this is not the same Zenith since launch. So it's, I guess, kind of a re-release. They've added hundreds of hours of new content, made massive graphics updates, and leveraged the PSVR2 features to bring you a truly next-level experience of Zenith's gorgeous open world. And the features are new player experience overhaul, epic new storyline packed with twists and turns, featuring a new cast of memorable characters, new systems and rich gameplay, catch creatures and summon as Pokemon. It's Pokemon. Massive graphic updates, crisper textures and higher definition models, lifelike grass, realistic shadows and lighting, and more. And next level immersion, experience a whole new dimension of interaction with adaptive triggers, feel the energy surge through your hands when powering up your swords, or the resistance of the triggers when firing your blasters. Feel the clash of an enemy blade, the swiftness of a dash, or the slow pulse of dangerously low health with headset feedback. And then fast loading speeds because the SSD of the PS5, which is goated. Passing it to you, Davey. What are your thoughts on Zenith: The Last City?
Bin it off. I'll tell you why exactly. You said there hundreds of hours of content. I do not have time for that. I don't care. Now, granted, looking this up, it's a MMO. It's basically a VR MMO. I don't care. I don't want to play with like loads of people. I've got like a few buddies. We'll get together. We'll play. I don't care about everyone else. I don't want to be some little anime little elf in some woods, powering up my sword, rubbing my sword. Put my energy in. I don't care. I don't want to do any of this bollocks. I just want to shoot people, or I want to run away from dinosaurs. I'm not interested in this. Doesn't speak to me on any level.
I mean, I don't know exactly what you're doing with that sword. I don't think that's in the game. But Phil, mate, passing it to you. What's your opinion?
Well, Spencer, I love rubbing my sword, and you are speaking my language because MMORPGs, it's the type of games I really, really enjoy. You know, I haven't played World of Warcraft for a long, long time, so maybe that will, you know, fill that gap in my life a little bit. Just to be able to dive in and have a couple of hours into that. Obviously, I'm not going to be going hardcore on a game like that. I don't have the time to invest in a full MMO these days. But to be able just to play a little bit on VR, I would definitely be interested in this type of game. So that's a marry from me.
That's fair enough. For me, it is a massive, absolutely fat kill. I would kill it, bury it, and burn it. It would be gone. An MMO in VR, I mean, playing World of Warcraft is so different. I'd sit there for like 40 hours. I wouldn't sleep playing World of Warcraft. VR headsets get sweaty. A game that requires hundreds of hours of time to complete in VR is horrendous to me. You can only play for like an hour max, and then you have to take the headset off because you're dripping. I haven't used the PSVR2, so maybe it's a different story. But with the Oculus Quest, I know for a fact it gets sweaty, it gets stinky. You gotta start wiping that bad boy because your lens get foggy. It's not a good time, and a game of that length just really doesn't speak to me, even if it's phenomenal, because that length in VR just sounds like a bad time. So it's a kill for me. Oh, the next game, boys. After the Fall, developed by Vertigo Games, an intense co-op shooter set in a post-apocalyptic version of Los Angeles. Team up with 3 others after setting out from a survivor camp that is shared with up to 32 players at a time. Or if you prefer to head out into the city solo and take on a horde of mutants or towering bosses by yourself, that's an option too. We're taking advantage of the new PSVR2 features, adding a new level of immersion to After the Fall's signature gunplay through the PSVR2 Sense controller. Every slide you rack and magazine you release can now be felt throughout your entire hands through haptic feedback, while each gun now mimics its real-life counterpart in trigger pull weight while using dynamic use of adaptive triggers. I don't know a lot about After the Fall. This is clearly a re-release that's kind of been hyped up, but maybe you boys do. So Phil, coming to you first, what are your thoughts?
Now, Spence, the graphics on this look outstanding. Genuinely look really, really good. And for all the same reasons that we spoke about with the previous co-op shooter, this would be a marry for me. This would be a game I'd love to play with you guys. 100% it would be a marry from me.
Bloody glad to hear it. I haven't actually seen the trailer yet, so that's good praise. Davey, how about you?
Gotta agree with Mr. Philip Hoy on this one. I think it looks great. I think it looks really, really good. And what's better than shooting zombies? I can't really think of an awful lot, to be honest with you. So if I can shoot some undead scum with my gun and feel that magazine come out and feel that in my hand, oh, sign me up. You know I love an adaptive trigger. And for them to really go into how much detail that's going to include, this could be the thing. This could be the thing that rivals like Astrobot or rivals Returnal in terms of having some of the best haptics. Yeah, I'm in for this. Sign me up.
Fair enough. Well, I haven't actually seen the gameplay or anything like that, but you boys are both marrying it, and it's a co-op game, so of course I'm going to have to jump on the bandwagon. I'm going to marry it as well. But a big thing, they've said, the last sentence of the paragraph, for the players that already own the game on the original PSVR, there will be a free upgrade to the PSVR2. What a lovely thing to read. That kind of entices me on its own. So not only are we playing it together, but Davey, you might have this in your library and you might be getting it for free. What a fantastic time, which means so do I. Blessed. What a fantastic day. It's a marry from me. So moving on, and this is now the last game on this list. There were 11 games. City Skyline don't count. There were 10 games. 10 games on this list. This game is called Tentacular. It's developed by Fire Punched Games UG. Hello PlayStation fans, I'm excited to reveal Tentacular, our charming VR game about a gigantic but good-hearted tentacled beast trying to figure out its place in the world. It will wiggle its way into your heart for PSVR2. For those of you who have yet to experience the watery world of Tentacular in VR, you're in for a real treat for the senses. Tentacular plunges you into the ocean-dwelling hulk of a gigantic, mild-mannered mollusk raised among humans on the bustling and eccentric island of La Calma. It's a physics-based adventure bursting with inventive, immersive VR gameplay, a heartwarming story, and oodles of humour. Solve puzzles using playful tools to build strange contraptions and spectacular structures, or wreak havoc with your lumbering bulk.
Tentacular can get in the fucking bin. That's what I'm thinking. I've looked at it, and it looks not anything I want to get involved with. I don't mind mollusks. I know I've got a lot of things against sea creatures, and I got a lot of things against bugs. So you think maybe mollusks might fall into a category like slugs and snails and things that I hate. But I don't. I don't detest them. I think they're fine. So I got no issue with the actual creature themselves. The gameplay of being a giant squid monster octopus thing, hitting things about with your massive arms, tentacle things. No. The art style looks cool, but it's not a game that's going to be like, Tentacular coming to PSVR. No. We've already said like 5 games or 6 games on this list that we're like Shags or Mary's day one. Tentacular ain't making that list. No chance.
I mean, yeah, I feel you, bro. I absolutely feel you. Phil, how about you? What's your thoughts on Tentacular?
No, Davey, I hate to disagree with you. Actually, I quite enjoy disagreeing with you. But this game, I genuinely feel has a chance. I think it's one of those wild, wacky games, right? That you can't really put your finger on why it's fun, but it is, right? I've watched the YouTube video and you're going around as a giant octopus thing, whacking stuff, there's physics involved. I just think it would just be a funny 5 minutes. It's not a game that I'm going to be spending the rest of my life in, but I think if I had the download for free, or I had this game, I would definitely want to spend some time and have a bit of a laugh. I could imagine getting drunk and playing this game. I think you'd have a lot of fun on a night, but that would be it. There's no longevity here. So it's a marry, but it's a quick divorce.
I'll tell you what, I'm actually on a side with Phil. Mostly with the case of, I refuse to pay a penny. But if it's free, get it in my basket. That looks like a nice, easy 6-hour platinum. I would be very happy with that. PSVR2 is going to have some beautiful platinums, and this is one of them. This is 100% a PS Plus title, because it is not going to sell well, because it doesn't look good, in my opinion. And for that reason, it's a kill until it's a marry, because eventually it's going to be for free, and then it's going to be easy. So that's the way it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Thank you, Tentacular, for the nice play.
I gotta say, guys, it's fucking bullshit that we got this different category, which is it's a kill, but if it's free, I'll give it a go. Like it's a total you're skewing the rules here. I'll allow it, of course, but Tentacular needs to die in a fire. These giant sea creatures cannot be allowed. We start there. Next thing, we get into starfish. We're getting into all the different creatures. It starts going spiraling out of control. Before we know it, giant slugs will roam the world. And it'll be your fault. It'll be your fault because you've allowed this to happen. I'm taking a stand that no. Stamp them out. Nuke them from orbit.
Okay, you say this, but if it releases on PS Plus and it's a 3-hour platinum.
Day one.
Day one.
Day one. Day one, yeah.
Day one.
Day one.
Easy. Right, well, I think that pretty much covers PSVR 2, doesn't it?
The only thing we got to discuss about, and I suppose we'll end the show on this, we've got a question to go through, but we've gone quite long on this, so we'll bin that off to the next. We'll do what we do on this podcast, which is where you write in, we actually bin your questions off, and we will eventually use them, but they'll go in the list. So I do apologize, J Child. Thank you for writing in. We will use your question. I really will use it on the next episode, on episode 56.
And it's absolutely hilarious because you've made him listen all the way through the episode, and right at the end you've gone, it'll be on the next week.
What I might do is I might put in the timestamps that this is where we do listener question, and it's just this discussion that we're having right now.
Nothing.
Just so just so they get. Oh my god, they talk about it 2 hours in. All right, yeah, I'll listen all the way through. Oh, waste of my life. Yeah, I think we'll do that. That'd be funny. I think the only thing we got to talk about is the price. We haven't really covered the actual cost of the unit itself. Are you guys happy with this price? I know that we were saying last time about being 600 and we were kind of going down that route, but now we know the price for certain. Are we happy with it? We haven't really answered that yet. Phil, let's go across to yourself. With this price, is this a get you in on the door? Do you still need Half-Life Alyx to get you involved?
Well, I said on the last episode that there needed to be two elements here. And I was bought in at £600. I was fine paying that amount of money if we heard about Half-Life Alyx. On that list of 10 games, was there Half-Life Alyx? No. So for me, it's a big fat no at the moment. But as soon as that game gets released or gets announced, then I'll be in. I'll have no issue at all paying that amount for a PSVR2.
And yourself, Spencer?
I mean, for me, obviously we discussed 600 quid last time, and I said I thought that was a fair price because this headset is quite revolutionary in terms of VR headsets. It's actually better than everything else in the specs category. So, even though that was the case, I was still kind of against it. But I don't know what's happened. Something switched in my brain, and I'm actually fully on board. I think the PSVR2 might be a day one for me. I really don't know what's happened to change my mind, because none of these games have done it. None of them. I think just knowing that it's going to happen, yeah, it might be the new money.
It's that new job, man. It's that new money.
It is. He's going to be absolutely bankrupt.
Here come the money.
He's going to be like every collector's edition going, he's got it. He'll be coming here with a Dead Space like helmet on. He'll have every single collector's edition ever. It'll be like no room left. He won't be able to go on his bed because he's sharing it with like every collector's edition going and all the VR2s, all the handsets. He's got his Elite controller coming out in January. This man is going to have no money. Poor Georgia. She's like, can we go on holiday? He's like, maybe we can go away for the weekend, love. And it's going to be in like a caravan down the road that my mate owns. Yeah, Bristol. I'll take you to Bristol for the day out. Is that all right? Because you ain't going on holiday. Yeah.
Because I need a secondary job to pay off all the Klarna bills, and I hear milking cows produces some extra income. But if you think my backdrop and Davey's backdrop is stacked full of pointless rubbish, then Spencer, I can see that as your future, really, if you start going down this track. Start buying, your room is going to quickly fill up.
It's true. I'll tell you what, I think the change in my heart, I think what it is actually me buying a PS Vita. Because now I kind of just want to own everything. I want to get a PS3. I'm not going to get a PS4 because I don't need one. It's pointless for me. But I kind of just want to have everything now. So, I mean, I turned my tide. I want the Edge controller now. I want the PSVR2. I want everything. And I don't have the money to do it realistically, but I kind of technically do. So, I mean, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But PSVR2, at the very least, confidently seems like a day one at the moment. Especially at $529.99.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence a little bit about this. Like, the one thing that I'm totally against is the PlayStation Edge controller. £210 for just like a controller? No. An extra 300 quid is a lot of money for a VR unit. I'm so torn. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be like an impromptu purchase. And I've done this a few times in my life where I bought something and thought, what did I do? And I go to cancel the order, and then it won't let me cancel. And I'm like, I just got to deal with it now. And those have always been the best decisions of my life. They've been great decisions. I think it's going to be one of those moments where I'll have a little bit of birthday money for my birthday. I'll go onto PlayStation Store, because you can only pre-order this, by the way, if you're in the UK. Different different regions are different here. So you check your region out, have a look at the blog post. I'll put it in the description of the podcast. But for the UK, you have to go onto PlayStation Store Direct. You have to go onto PlayStationDirect.com and order it through there. It's the only place being pre-ordered at the moment. I can see me on the 16th of February, my birthday, looking up the amount of birthday money I got, knowing I got 4 days until payday, thinking, we can probably live off beans for a month. Like, we can probably do it as a household. It'll be all right. We can spice them up, pour some Worcestershire sauce in it one day. Maybe have beans on toast when we're feeling really flush. We've got some bread going on. We can do this. We can do this as a family. Let's all pull together to do it. And just go for it. And I think that's what's going to happen with this. But we'll have to wait until later down the road. I'm interested in the price. I don't think it's too egregious. I think it's fine. It just depends on my monetary situation at the time. So we'll see. We'll see. Watch this space, listener. But what I would like to know, listener, are you thinking about picking up a PSVR 529? Have you got that money burning? Are you living at home? Have you only got mummy and daddy to worry about paying the bills, and you could say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I don't have any money this month." Are you in that situation? Spence rolling his eyes. Let me know. Write into the email psvtrust@gmail.com. And speaking of writing in, do you like writing stuff? How's about writing a review? Go on to Spotify. Leave a review. We've had a few, so I've really appreciated everyone that has written a review, positive or not. It helps with the algorithm. So if you've got a spare couple of moments, go onto your podcast service of choice, put a review on, put a rating, helps us find a larger audience and grow the podcast. And as I've said a few times on this podcast before, writing in will get your question eventually answered. I quite like this thing we're doing at the moment where we're finally getting questions in and we're purposely kind of binning them off. I quite like that. It's quite fun. But we will eventually read them. And I assure you, I promise, all the questions we've got, we'll read them out on the next episode. So get them in. psvtrust@gmail.com. And finally, for you watchers, you guys, you know who you are. Ring a ding ding. Ring that bell. Like the video. Subscribe. Go into the comment section. Put a heart. I will like every heart you put on because my heart is your heart. Together. I don't know where I'm going with this. I said I was done with these kind of like these shill posts, but now it's just kind of come out of nowhere. You know what to do, guys. If you want to support the podcast, go on, do these things. It really does help us. I know a lot of people say it, but it does, especially when we're a small channel like we are at the moment. Going for the end of next year for 500 subscribers. Is that what we're going for? Is that a push goal?
Sure.
Yeah, say it is. Sure.
500's fine. Yeah.
100
year one, year two, 500.
Yeah, let's do it. Next year, take over the world. And that is it for this episode of In PS We Trust. Episode 55 has come to a dramatic close. We've gone through all the PSVR news you could ever need. I don't know. I was going to do another shill again, and I thought it's too much. It's too much. I'm overkilling it. Let's just end the podcast. Let's just call it, shall we? Should we just end it? Right. Let's do this. That's enough for shilling. I'm just done with it now. It's done. It's totally in the past. Put a like on it though. Put a like on it though, at least, yeah. You listen this far, yeah. Put a like on it. Jesus Christ, is that hard to ask? Oh Christ! Right. Well, let's end the show. I've been Davey. Thank you ever so much for joining in to episode 55. I've been joined by Mr. Philip Hoy.
Hello, and thank you very much.
And Spencer Davis.
Everyone who watches is an absolute shagger. Thank you for attending.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for you guys being you as well. Appreciate both of you. I'd ring the bell all day for you guys. And that's it. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See ya.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.